All right.
Yeah,
cool, man. Let's start this thing.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, man. We're back, everyone. We've had a little break, and I'm super excited to be back here again, podcasting, and with Cam, or MC Shureshock, as he's known. I've wanted to do this for a while because how did we meet? I was trying to remember today.
Look, I think my earliest memories would have been at the family.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was.
Did you ever play at any of the Addicts events, like blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, played at blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
so it
that might have been because
there.
that was before the family thing when I was promoting there. And
Right.
That, so,
okay. So so I probably met you there, but at that stage, I think I was a bit of a whirlwind in and out. So I wasn't much in the social loop. It was like pretty much fly in, do gig and leave.
Yeah. Because you weren't living here at the time.
I was living in Sydney at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
So
did you play it with the blow? I know this is going back a long time.
No,
We're talking 10
feels
years.
like yesterday.
Oh,
Feels
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you
But
know,
which ones did you play at? Do you remember? Was it like...
Yeah, so I played at the one down on underneath Kangaroo Point.
Yep, okay. Yep. I wasn't there for that one. I started
there one at
afterwards. I don't know.
That was Barbecue Breaks, wasn't it?
Barbecue Breaks.
Yeah, Barbecue Breaks.
Yeah. We had the one outside the cultural forecourt of South Bank.
I did some gigs there, but I don't think that was it.
Okay.
Was there one that
There's one in Cloudland?
There was one over the road from Cloudland.
Yeah,
underneath.
Oh, okay.
In this like old, I don't even know what the venue is. It's like next to that Rick's Bar thing. You know, the outdoor kind of thing. It's like the club or the bar front that's like next to that.
Yeah,
I recall playing in that one.
Maybe we didn't meet at them then, because I don't think I was only I only came in towards the end of it. So of the Addicts, you know, like and the blah blah blah.
Yeah,
so maybe we didn't meet there.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the first time I recall hanging out with you was at the family with Kid Kenobi and the freestyle. Was it Freestylers or Stanton Warriors?
I don't know who. Yeah, I remember that. That night, I definitely remember that. Hanging in the green room and stuff.
And then upstairs, and then they had like you know, those little sort of booth turrets and stuff like that. So that was probably it.
Yeah, back then
that was probably it. Yeah,
so that was a while ago. Then we're probably talking 6-7 years. I mean, not in the grand scheme of things.
It's got to be longer than that, though.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But
because I've been home in Brisbane for 7 years.
Okay,
just over 7 years.
Yeah. So maybe we did meet at one of the Addicts things, and we can't remember which one it was. I'm sure we would have run into each other if you're at them and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Sure.
No. I mean, I remember faces more than I remember names, and I recall like spotting you and seeing you hanging out with peeps, and do you know what I mean? Like we'd talked very lightly.
Just hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah, wow, crowd looks amazing. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that stuff. Generally before show, my head is just like get in focus, get in the game. So if I'm talking to anybody, the reality is I'm probably like checked out and trying to zone into my own process.
Yeah.
And then afterwards there's a decompression of about 2 hours. And in that 2 hours, there may be some words that are said. Can't remember what they are. And then after that, then it's kind of like, you know, you kind of grounded at that stage.
Yeah, you're back,
Yeah, I remember seeing the way Jamiroquai did it years ago. And they had so they had the green room where all the artists are hanging out.
Yep.
And then he would come out with his security just with no shirt on and none of the makeup, none of the hat, and just walk around the crowd and choose girls like before to go, they're coming back. And they'd get invited back to the after party. And the after party, so you had the green room for the artists, which was dark, like incense, like no music, like complete, like blue lights, black lights, you know? And then you had this room that was set up with like pizzas and a bar and they'd do a meet and greet there, and they'd, you know, so they'd go back to their green room and chill out until they'd kind of decompressed. And then everyone would be drinking in that got invited. Yeah. Then they'd do a meet and greet. And then there'd be an official after party, which would be at a pub somewhere.
Yeah.
And then they stayed in the hotel over the road, which is where the after party would go.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like
the real after party.
I was like, this is so smart. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like little containers that honored the process as to where people's head are at, you know, and it's like, that's good, because sometimes you come off stage and you don't want to be You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be, but you're so buzzed up. The adrenals are just pumping so much that it's like, if I'm
calm down a bit.
you got to bring it down. You just got to bring it down.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're interacting from, that high adrenal dump.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I'm not frightened or angry, but but the energy is high.
Yeah.
So, but I like Michael Franti's take on things. Like he would finish on stage and literally jump over the stage and go and hug people in the crowd.
That's cool.
And it was his thing. So like, if there's that type of stage and I've got people that are there, like I really took that on, and it's like, yeah, cool, I'm going to hang and be available to interact. Because we've just shared this experience together. And it's like, come on, like let's connect. And then, we're like going to be both equally peaked.
Yeah.
So therefore that's cool, and we'll calm down together, and then I'll go and get a chill.
And I suppose that's the thing with an MC as well, is that, you sort of do have that back and forward with the crowd, probably a little bit more than a DJ, because you're actually saying things to them.
That's right.
And they're responding, back with, however they respond. So it's a little,
in the myriad
I'm sure
of ways.
you've got a few stories about that, but it's a little bit different to a DJ, because you are actually directly speaking and interacting with them, isn't it? So I imagine that energy and that, like you said, sharing that sort of moment or something like that. That's that's actually really cool. But you get that,
and I think more DJs these days are appreciating that's like a unique opportunity to increase the relationship. So they're trying to take on the mic thing.
I know a lot of guys who do that now.
Really badly. And, and it's like, I can DJ, but you don't want me to. No, I can DJ because CDJs exist now. But I can DJ on vinyl, but it's just not great, And it's it's a craft, it's an art, and
anyone can MC, but it's hard to MC good.
It's hard to MC,
to do it well. Like it's like a lot of things. Like anyone can do a lot of stuff, but it's like to do it actually well is a different story.
To treat it with the reverence of like an art form that it is.
And there's levels,
That's right.
There's levels to it.
That's right. And you go and see someone like MC Supernatural, like I hear guys freestyle, like rappers and stuff like that, and then I remember Supernatural was at Family. I got to tour with him and the Black Eyed Peas before Elephant dropped. So and they were like, "Oh, this MC Supernatural," and I was like, "Oh, he's world freestyling champion." And then this before a lot of the Google search and stuff, and I was like, "Okay, everyone's talked it up." And anyway, I've told him this rhyme to try and impress him. Like, I told him how I wrote it, and I was in Byron Bay having this spiritual like fucking mission, and then told him this whole backstory to the rhyme, told him the rhyme. He went on stage and just blew my head off. I was like, oh, this guy's amazing. Like, he's like, picking words out of the audience, reading through the dictionary, flipping off rhimes like that.
That's mental, just a dictionary.
Just crazy, just going, right, flip a page, that's what I'm going to rap about. Like, he was amazing. And so that was good. And then we get backstage and, of course, everyone's partying. And like in the middle of the smoky back room after partying for like 4 or 5 hours, he just yells out, he's like, "Yo, Cameron, yo." And he tells me my backstory in a rhyme, chooses segments of the lyrics exactly as I delivered them, repatterns them and explains them back to me. And then finishes it all in a freestyle. And I was like,
so you're like,
I'm not worthy. This guy's amazing.
Live, he remixed your rhyme. And did it better from what you're saying.
That's right. That's right. Not only better, but explained it in rhythm, in time. Like, he's just a genius, So, meeting those sort of guys really ups your personal game and just kind of
gives you something to strive for too, doesn't it? Because you're like, a lot of the times people's egos that, I'm getting really good, like, I'm
getting fame,
or I'm a good level, or I'm getting fame or something, and then sometimes it takes someone like that to come along and just sort of
pull you down to
put you back and go, all right, I might be getting better, but I got a lot of work to do still. I got to keep working hard.
And it's also that thing of, do I want to do that thing? So like in Australia, I guess when I started off, there was just no one we weren't getting MCs out here, you know.
Yeah.
Like there was hip hop, and there was rappers and that type of stuff, and like, you know, Death Wish Cast and all those boys, and
Yep.
you know, I was emceeing around with KOC and the B-Boy All Stars and Bill and James Broken Exit and that, you know, Angus and Catch, and like, anyway, a lot of people won't remember these names, but these guys were kind of like the foundation of it.
That'd be a good little reunion for all the old heads. They'll tune in and listen and watch, and they'll be like, "Oh, I remember that. I
remember that guy."
Yeah.
But you know, and it's good to know your history as well, because I think when it started off, like my inspiration was coming through cassette tapes that people were bringing back from London, and they were like, "You got to hear this. This is incredible." And you'd hear it, and it was live, and there's just the shittiest recording with the most fucking overblown loud microphones, where like nothing was mixed in properly. You could hear all the crowd and the crowd noises, but it was brilliant. Like that was the stuff that made you just go, "I want to be a part of that life and that lifestyle." And we're not getting that here. And so, it was difficult to get the inspiration. Whereas now, like, you know, it's a solid part of the industry.
Yeah.
Like when I started, there was no job called rave MC. And I MC'd for like, you know, 6 years for free. I was even longer. Because there wasn't budget for it.
Yeah.
People didn't understand. Like the DJs got it. The DJs were like, "Fuck yeah, this is
this is sick."
You know, you're gonna hold the space that I lose."
Yeah.
So in those moments where there's space perfect for a rhyme, but it's also that turning point where girls get bored and fuck off and go and get a drink, or the guys are like,
it just loses that energy. Like there's sometimes there's those, and you know, it's important to have that less energy, but you still want an engagement, and that's where
that's right.
That MC sort of, you know,
and if
the vibe that you've got.
And if you listen to some of those old dance records, like there's a lot of space, man.
Yeah. Big breakdowns,
20-minute records and 12-minute records, and you've got these giant amounts of space, which is brilliant for the experience that it was creating back in the day. But energetically, you know, an MC that can come in and tastefully lace it all together, then it works out. Somebody who comes in and doesn't shut up the whole time and says the same thing over and over and over again, that's where it's like cheese grated to the ears. You know what
that's
I mean?
it. Yeah.
So, but anyway, you know, that's the evolution.
Yeah. So how did you originally get into it then? You know, like you're talking about that it wasn't a thing around, and you're getting these tapes from London. What sort of made you think, let's give it a crack, or you know, just start?
It was honestly, well, it was breakdancing and dancing, which is was, I guess, my first love as a mode of self-expression. Because I went to a private school. It was all Jimmy Barnes and AC/DC, and me and 3 guys liked hip hop. Out of the whole school. And then the year younger than me, I repeated a year. And there was a drama class, and because the year I was in, there was no drama. All the guys I was colleagues with were not creative. It was just the wrong fit, and I was the wrong year. So I was a year younger because we came up from Melbourne. My mum put me in this year, going, it's grade 8. So this first year of high school, put him in there, but all the guys were 12 months older than me. So I got to grade 10. I repeated, which was the best thing I ever did. Found this drama class. And there was all this self-expression, use the voice as a tool. The guys got me to rap because I really liked rap music, and they got me to rap the start of a play called Bouncers, which is all about bouncers, you know. It is what it says. And there's a rap based on Rapper's Delight at the start. And so I've walked out on stage and froze, just choke. And they were like, let's start the play again.
They just started again. Imagine if you could do that in shows.
I did it twice. I did it twice, and with a full audience, you know. And I was like, oh, man. Third time, smoked it. I came out, they all laugh, and they're like, just fucking do the rap, man. And I came out and smashed it. And that was kind of a bit of confidence. It was a bit of confidence boosting. The dancing came on. And then... and then a friend of mine, Jethro, DJ Spinnovator, who's over in the UK, who was the first DJ that I sort of hooked up and jammed with,
Yep.
who was a mate of mine, him and Simon, we had a dance crew called Infinity DC, Infinity Dance Crew. And we'd go to the school dances and break dance and put these routines together. It was kind of like top rocking, b-boying and sort of R&B crossed, with gymnastics. And I was a gymnast, so I was doing backflips and stuff.
Oh, you're a gymnast.
So, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll have to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, that's right. So it was, that was all like, it was all this self-expression and and I really found my home. Like I just felt me.
Yeah.
I felt good and I felt happy and people just enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, I remember like dancing to Enigma on the dance floor, had my little pork pie hat down, closed my eyes to start busting some moves and I opened my eyes and there's this circle around me and I was like, I didn't know what the fuck that's about, but cool.
What's going on here?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that kind of took off and then that opened up a whole can of worms, jealousy from the football boys and, all the local bombers chasing you with knives. Yeah, my girlfriend wants to, you want to start something? I'm like, no, I'm just dancing, dude. Like, put your knives away and see you later. And, and then, so yes, I did a couple of talent shows like, it was like a Brookfield dance and somebody put my name forward and said, oh, there's like a talent thing before the bands. Yeah. And we know you're a break dancer. Can you come and dance? And I was like, yeah, cool. So me and a mate of mine and another buddy of mine who got really wasted before the gig and did the robot thing. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But that went really surprisingly well. And people loved it. And then this guy just came up to me and started speaking to me. And I was like, I wasn't sure if he was like slightly disabled. And he was saying, oh, I really want to book you for this gig and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think he's joking, but like he might be telling me the truth. I don't know.
Yeah.
And anyway, he wasn't joking. He was putting on a rave at and in the Maya Centre downstairs in Metropolis nightclub called Eclipse. And it was Triple J Presents. Like he'd fully put it all together.
Sick.
Yeah, and that was Andrew Stevens, and really sadly, he passed away last year.
I was on his radio show once. I did a mix and an interview. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah, that was tragic.
It was murdered. Yeah, and I kind of looked up the dudes. I was really, really shaken by that because, like him or hate him, a lot of people. He rubbed them the wrong way because he was so passionate about what he did. Yeah. And his communication skills weren't great. I think, look, I might be wrong, but he might have been on the spectrum. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But for him to be murdered was just, rocked me. It rocked me. And then I saw the guys that did it and I was just like, meth is a really bad thing.
Yeah.
And, and that's actually something I was going to mention, but I'll get to that a bit. Remind me of that.
Yeah.
But
circle back to it.
We'll circle back to it.
Keep talking.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'll show you a trick.
Oh, here we go. Here's another trick.
Trick, you can't get into your beer, but that's all right because you got a bottle of water, eh? So you just use your little gun trigger figure and then you pop it underneath the edge. And you pop it up.
Yeah, perfect. I can do that with a lighter, but I've never done it with anything else. I didn't have anything though. You had it there.
That's all right. No worries.
I think we might just get the mic a bit closer to your mouth too. We were trying to keep it out of your face, but
no, that's good.
I think you just pop it down a bit so it's like up. I think.
Yeah, there you go.
So we can see your face over there, and then the camera here as well.
Sweet.
Just so we can hear you nice and clear as well.
Yeah, cool. But anyway, he booked us as dancers, and then we went along to the event. My girlfriend was a dancer at the time.
Just sorry to interrupt, but what year are we talking here? Is all
1991.
So this is all around the early 90s.
This is the early 90s, yeah.
When you were sort of in high school, near the end of high school?
End of high school,
high school, yeah.
Finishing off sort of like grade 11. I think I just turned 17 by this stage.
Yep.
Yeah, it was underage, but it was in a nightclub. It was
you
a day
were performing.
Rave. Yeah, I was performing, so it was fine. That was a real game changer because at that event, I met MC Chase and MC Saber. Saber's passed away, sadly. He was the lead MC of Bass X, which was quite a famous Brisbane-based electronic act in the 90s. And so I walk in, I get paid to go and dance. I'm like, this is amazing, you know. I'm like just loving it. So they had a nice big podium dance area, and then there's this dude just hanging over the balcony rapping into a microphone, and I was like, I remember just walking straight up to him, and I was like, can I have a go? And he was like, can you rap? And I went, yeah. And he was like, well, rap to me before I give you the microphone. And I was like, all right. So I did an Ice T rhyme, and he was just like, that's fucking dope, bro. Yeah, jump on the mic. So I jumped on the mic. I did this rhyme. And as I'm doing the rhyme, I still remember Saber looking up at me, you know, because he's like a hip hop rapper, you know.
So he knew the rhyme or whatever.
Well, not only did he know the rhyme, but he was like, who the fuck is this dude who's just fronting on MC Chase and got the mic? You know what I mean? And I just remember because Steve used to have these like steely eyes, and he looked at me across the dance floor. I looked up like this with his bad expression, like Ice Cube on his face. And I was like, I'm in trouble now. And he's rocked on up. And he was like, dope Brian Blow, fucking love Ice T. Give me the mic. I was like, all right. And then the three of us just went back to back that night. And it turns out that Steve was kind of best friends with my girlfriend at the time.
What, you didn't know that?
I didn't know any of this. I knew none of this. I was brand new in the scene, and there was Edwin was DJing and Thief was DJing. I think Zen Trady. I can't remember who else, but I know Edwin and I Thief were, and I really fell in love with what Thief was doing at the time. He was playing a harder sound. Everyone else was playing kind of ravey, which was cool. And Thief came out with this much harder, hardcore edge. And I was like, I don't know what about that, but I like it, you know? So that's kind of where it started. And then we got booked as dancers at the raves. And I still remember auditioning. And that's something I wanted to talk about later on as well. Promoters, big up the promoters, because they don't get enough love, right?
Yeah, it's true. People think they're rolling in money too. And most of the time it's like,
they're selling their cars.
It's very risky business. Like you can lose a lot of money. Like
you can lose
I tell people that it's like, you're going to be willing to lose money if
gamble
could happen.
Yeah, man.
It rains and it's an outdoor type event.
No one comes. It's crazy. Yeah. But I remember down at Lexington Queen in the city, and like getting the booking to be the dancer at the rave, and I was there with like 5 of my mates and my girlfriend, and we stood in front of Michael Watt, who was promoting down at
it's at Prince Consort
Prince Consort now, and Waddy was a bouncer at that stage.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, helping out with Peter Brown and getting the stuff. And he looked at us and watched us dance. It was like a Tuesday night or something crazy. And he was like, watch us for about 5 minutes, and then went, yep. Yeah, you're all on Saturday. And we were like, fuck yeah, free tickets. Like this is unreal.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like got there at 9 o'clock. From then on, every Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, I was dancing 8 hours. So I get there at 9, I finish at 5, and then we go back to someone's house, and there wasn't much MCs going on. There was another guy in Metro. Chase was coming backwards and forwards, in and out. And I spent most of the time at the raves after I was dancing, doing my routines and stuff, upstairs in the hardcore room, because there was just something else about it that I really connected with. Being a young white guy, lots of energy. Not really sure how to express your emotions. It was a really good vehicle to let go.
Yeah.
Lots of energy and intensity.
Yeah, get them all out.
Yeah, because I couldn't do the pub thing, and I wasn't really into football, so I was like, I don't know where I connect, but this is more me, And so when I got up there, then I met these guys at Armageddon Dance Crew, and they were like nothing but straight up gabba and hardcore, and I said, oh, look, can I MC? And I do a little bit. And occasionally the guys would give me the mic when I was dancing. And then, because they'd see me rapping while I was dancing, and they'd be like, well, just do that and the same
yeah.
thing. And I'd be like, yeah, cool.
You're like, can I get paid for both?
I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah,
no, we weren't getting paid. It was just like, you're famous now.
Yeah.
You know, we made you famous. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
You know, I'm part of a scene now. Like, you know, and it really was that.
Well, we'll pay you an exposure.
There was no industry that was like really prominent. It was more that I was accepted into a subculture that had a variety of people that I really enjoyed having conversations with. And because back then, and like the raves, they were like, there was a higher gay contingency because dance music was a little bit more received in the gay community. Then you had the punk, then you had the hippie, then you had the raver. I mean, ravers weren't a thing at that stage. It was kind of like we go to dance parties to rave. And it was like the late 90s where the tracksuits and the Adidas, and there was a look, like a scene, like I'm a raver type of thing. Whereas back in the day, it's like, well,
there's a whole identity.
We're raving together.
It was actually it became an identity.
That's right. Rather than this is an experience of uniting, which is that whole 90s PLUR, peace, love, unity, respect thing, which was let's all get together, all these different people, and dance to the same music together, shoulder to shoulder, and accept each other as we find each other. And that's why I liked it, because I was like, there's something spiritually evolved about this practice. I don't know what it was, but I was like, this is not only good for how I feel about myself, but it's good for how I feel about my place in the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has got to stay. There wasn't that sense of segregation or divide. It was just like, hey, wow, you're a fucking crazy looking mohawk wearing like tattoo face dude. Let's be friends.
It's kind of like the doof scene these days.
Very
similar,
very much,
very similar. Like it's that.
Yeah, you've still got your identity of the doofer.
You can wear whatever you want. You can be from, you can be into whatever it is.
As long as
everyone comes together.
You're appreciating that unity consciousness.
To experience it together.
And it's not that. I mean, there's still a bit of a scene that goes on with your psytrance type of. That sort of taking a bit of ownership, but then that's just about respecting. Like, I mean, I look back to how I was in the day. I'm like, I'm a hardcore motherfucker. And like people are like, okay, cool. Like, that's really intense, man. I'm like, it's the only way I do it. Like, you know what I mean? And so that was it. Like, once I met the Armageddon guys, we were doing Wednesday nights at the Tube, which is the old Prohibition. And then Jenny and Thief were running this hard drive thing, and I was getting in that and doing drum and bass, the Malaria nights, the Area 51 nights, and roundabouts. And so there was this whole like 90s rave culture that happened in Brisbane. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone partied side by side. We were either in a side room or in the main room, depending on the style that was being promoted on the night. But literally we'd all go back to the same houses and have the kick-ons together, and like that's like everyone knew everyone. It was a family. It was a culture. It
was a tight scene.
It was a tight scene
because it was probably. Would you say it was quite small in the big scheme of things, or was it?
Interestingly enough, like numbers wise, I'm not going to guess, but I would say some of the early parties we're talking, there's a couple of thousand. So let's say like 2,000 or 3,000 decent sized parties. We're approaching the end of the 90s. Before then, like up until the site and the Roxy opened up, they were kind of smaller pockets, and there weren't big raves and stuff. Strawberry Fields came along. That was like a big outdoor event down in Pimpama. I think Waddy's doing another one of those this year.
Oh, cool.
Which will be epic. So like that whole big, massive dance party feel hadn't really touched down. It was more like small underground clubs and then pockets of them uniting for events. And then the bigger parties like your site and your Roxy, they sort of took off, and that's where it became like a couple of thousand there. But there were the same heads. There's the same people you'd see every week. A few would flutter in and flutter out, but you know, it was pretty much the same crew for like a good part of 10 years. And then there was natural attrition, people having babies, moving on, growing up. Do you know what I mean?
Happens,
I don't do that anymore. And it's like, yeah, that's good. We thought you were going to die, but like I like the music, so I'm going to stay. You know, I'm happy for you though.
That's
you know?
like, I remember they even did that Back to the Moon party at the Triffid a few times, and it's like, you know, that's all the old, you know, Moon Bar,
guys.
Empire sort of like vibes.
Yeah.
And when they did the Back to the Moon, it's like, you know, 10 years later or whatever, and it's like in the afternoon, it's like, all right, kids can stay till 6, guys. And it's like the outside area, you know, so everyone's there, families with kids and stuff.
And that's the inclusive thing that you'll see. And that's kind of a filtering down of the maturity of dance music culture. And, you know, I'm very much welcoming that. Like, you know, Europe's right onto it. Like, you know, they've got like in parts of Europe, you know, a library and an eating area and a small shopping precinct next to a permanent rave structure. And you can go out and dance to your favorite Euro trance DJ and then go and do the shopping and catch up with a girlfriend, have a coffee, like on a Tuesday. Yeah. Right? It's like, dancing's healthy.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't
dancing
have to
to music's
necessarily
healthy.
be attached to alcohol and
drugs. Right,
and
correct.
things like it can just be something because you enjoy the music and dancing.
Yeah, that's right. That's a thing. That's a thing.
That's a thing. You know?
And it's not just a thing for the ecstatic dance people who are making a point of saying, we don't do drugs and alcohol and we're standing against it.
Yeah.
It's like, you can do whatever you want, but this music is like part of our culture. Yeah. And so you're seeing that now happen here, which is really good. Elements have been really big behind driving, you know, moving more of the electronic scene rather than having electronic music featured at places like Woodford and stuff like that, where it gets a bit of exposure. We're looking at these festivals now where they've got like generations of culture. And so you're seeing kids, like my daughter came to the Elements this year. It was her first one.
Sick.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
She came on stage, said some stuff on the mic, and, you know, she's
I
a
think I
singer.
might have seen, is there a little video of that somewhere? Or maybe you just mentioned it. Maybe you just mentioned it on socials or something.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's great for me to be able to share that experience that's, you know, been a big part of my life for 30 something years.
Yeah. Big shout out to Trent for that though, like putting that on.
Oh, amazing.
All that work and effort that he had to do for that was just the hoops he had to jump through with the COVID plan and then such uncertainty around if it would even happen, you know, like, and like we said, a lot of money involved.
Yeah, lots of money, lots of money. Like people don't, you know.
People don't think about how much money is involved in events, even a club night.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, you know, big risks.
Videographer can cost $4,000. You know what I mean? And that's just to do the little after movie video and take the content of the day, you know?
Oh, man.
That's not even the artists. That's not even the, you know, the writers, not the artwork, the
travel,
flights, accommodation,
insurance.
Like,
the whole lot. It's crazy. A lot of people, you know, when you see them posting online going, oh, you know, I can't believe you're shutting it down because of COVID. That's just like, you're not thinking about us. It's like, we're thinking about being able to survive. Yeah. And put on the event in the future. Yeah. Because if we were to do it now and get shut down midway because of COVID restrictions, say goodbye to all of our savings. Yeah. And you'll never see this festival again. Yeah. And so they're just, you know, that's just the business side of things.
Yeah.
And the good thing is now that, you know, there is a very developed, coherent and grounded business world to support dance music. And the music industry, not just the old day rock and roll stories of, you know, I had a manager at one stage, shouts out to Sam Cutler, who was, he was the tour manager for the Rolling Stones, managed Nina Simone, the Grateful Dead, managed my band for a while. Amazing. And the stories that he would tell about the music industry, it's just crazy shit. Yeah. And it just doesn't happen anymore. You know what I mean? Like that stuff, those days are gone.
Like bad crazy, you mean?
Like unbelievable crazy. Unbelievable.
Good crazy, bad crazy, unbelievable. Oh, look, what do you mean? Bad things, good things?
My sliding scale on good
just
and
crazy
bad.
In general.
Let's just say crazy in general.
Yeah.
Like, because like I've got a pretty good and dark sense of humor. So like I might find things funny that other people would be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, you know, have you ever heard the goblin story? Have I ever? No. All right. Do you want the goblin story?
Yeah, sure. Okay, it sounds awesome. Let's get into it. What is it?
So we're at Reading Festival in the UK, which is a big outdoor dance music festival. Awesome. It's kind of like the dance music offshoot of Glastonbury. And I'm over there with Kid Kenobi and Q45 and a whole bunch of Aussies.
It's in like the 2000s period.
2004.
Yeah.
I think
Cool.
2004 or
I
2005.
was in grade 12.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So we're over there. It's the summer. It's the UK summer. It's a beautiful summer, and we're all camping. So we've got this camp set up, and we go and do this gig. Just smoke the gig. Like, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
Big festival tent, and like Kid Kenobi was pretty famous at the time, so we had a lot of Aussie support. And it was just it was wicked. So anyway, we went back to celebrate. And our mate, who shall remain nameless, couldn't speak properly because he'd been partying for a week. And I was like, what's wrong with him? And they're like, oh, I can't speak. And I'm like, okay. Couldn't speak for all night. And then we're sitting around the campfire in the morning and he just blurts out, the goblin. And I'm like, cool. So the first thing you say, like that you can say is the goblin. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell. Come on. All right, tell us the story. What's happening? You know? Yeah. So anyway, he manages to tell us a story that basically his friend went to Camden Markets and bought the last of the legal like magic mushrooms, right? And him and all their mates were going to go and take them. And so he's sitting there and he's got these, he's getting these text messages from his mate because they all went to the pub for a few beers.
Yeah.
Text message, and they start getting more frenetic and they start getting weird. And they're like, oh man, he started without us. We better go and save him, you know? So they rock over to his door, knock on the door. Door springs open. He's sitting there wide-eyed and they're like, hello, mate. And he goes, thank God you're here. He's still here. And he's like, is he? Where is he? And he's like, come with me. And he's got on his hands and knees. And he's crawling over to the kitchen sink. And they're like, it's going to be a witch's hat. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's like, he's in there. And so they open the door and there's a Down syndrome child, right? And they're like,
what?
Oh, fuck.
Like,
right.
What's going on?
So first things first, they grab him and take him, like grab the kid, take the kid to the lounge room to give him the once over, make sure he's okay. Yeah. Kid's fine. He thinks it's all big fun. He's laughing. He's having a great time. They take the old mate aside and they're like, hey, man, cool goblin. So
they start messing with it.
He's like, the goblin's here. And they're like, no, it's not a goblin. It's a Down syndrome kid, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're like, so, okay, buddy. So where'd you find the goblin? He's like, oh, man, I went walking through the park and then I saw him and I thought, you're never going to believe it. So I took him home with me like this. And they're like,
so he's kidnapped this kid.
He's kidnapped a child. And so they're like, oh, this is fucked up. So anyway.
Oh, my God.
They go, okay, mate, you have to tell us where the goblin lives, right? They have to take us back there. And he's like, oh, I don't know if I can. And so they're like, they jump in the car and they put a rug over the goblin, over the kid, right? Referring to child as goblin, clearly. And then they're driving up and they get the side of the park and they can see it. You know, there's cop cars everywhere. There's police with dogs up in the bushes. There's crying mum over here. Everyone's losing their shit. And there's this like window opportunity where it's just like suddenly everything parts and they're just like, that's it. They've grabbed the kid. They've run back. I don't know if you've been to the UK, but they've got these they've got these like kids play areas that have got fences around them really high so kids can't climb over them. So, but it's adult height, right?
Yeah.
So they've run back. They've put the kid back in there, pulled off the rug, jumped back in the car, hid, wait. Then you hear the mum, Craig runs over, picks him up. He's fine. Here he is. He's here. Like, right? Jesus. You know? And so they drive from like Marylebone to bloody Shoreditch, pick up party favors on the way, party for a week. Oh, and on the way up, they're always like, oh, this is so funny, isn't it? It's a funny story. And then on the way down, they're like, CCTV, we're going to jail.
Yeah.
It's like, you go to jail. But they know nothing happened. So anyway, I come back, I bring that story back to Australia. And then the thing goes like kind of viral. This is before social media.
Yeah.
So like this is, I think, 2005. So Facebook had just been invented, you know. So it's like we're not, like it was MySpace or whatever.
People like MSN and MySpace.
Yeah.
They're sending MSN.
But it was this thing like when because I was working in restaurants and the guys were like, oh, right. So, you know, we'd be sitting around the table and there'd be like really funny, there'd be like, you know, hospitality. And then there'd be always one or two like super conservative straight asses. And my manager would be like, hey, Cam, do you want to tell us about the goblin story? And I'd be like, sure. So you'd rip it out and you just watch their face like, no, that's terrible.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
look, the kid was fine.
Yeah.
Like if you know anything about
It was
Down
a
syndrome.
mistake. It was a genuine mistake.
Genuine mistake. And like,
He
if you-
actually thought it was a goblin.
yeah. And you know what? Down syndrome kids think that like everything is fun.
Yeah.
The world is exciting and it's all positive. He's not traumatized. He's had a great time. You know what I mean? He's like, so anyway, that's
It was a different time back then.
it was a
wasn't it?
different time, you know. So anyway, yeah. So that's the goblin story.
So how did he? So the person who said at this party had been partying with the
Yes.
goblin,
Yeah.
who just all
So
of a sudden
he
said
was-
the goblin, was he part of that story?
He was in the crew.
Okay.
He was like the guys that were at the pub.
Yeah.
So he's one of those
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
And then it was his mate that was the one that went, you know, goblin hunting.
So he was just like recounting that. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
afterwards,
right.
He was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the goblin.
Yeah. And again, there was like people sitting around this campfire that couldn't believe it. There was people slightly traumatized. There was like, no, we've got to go and tell the police. And you're like,
that's
yeah,
hectic.
look, I'm pretty sure he's not going to own up to it.
Yeah.
Just saying, you know, like,
yeah,
and the
of
kid was
course.
totally fine. So
Yeah.
like, disclaimer, no goblins were harmed. So yeah.
That's crazy. And so like I know we were talking about how you started like before, and we're talking about like the dancing and stuff. And you said you got up and you did that Ice Cube rap.
Yeah.
But how did you get into that rapping before that? Because obviously you're into it.
Yeah, that's right. So
At that stage, you had already gotten into it.
yeah.
So was it just through the drama stuff and the hip and the dancing and stuff, or what happened there?
No,
Because obviously before
my-
you're into it because you could
Yeah,
rap
that's
at
right.
that stage. So
well,
how
yeah,
did that
that's right. That's right. So, like, like the way it kind of landed for me was, it was kind of it was like Public Enemy, Ice-T, it was gangster rap, it was NWA, it was all of that stuff that
That
expressed
late 80s, early 90s sort of like.
Yeah.
It would have been late 80s then, would it?
late
when you-
80s and early 90s. Oh, it was
Yeah.
like Run DMC.
Yeah.
The guys that kind of precursed the Snoop and those type of days. I didn't really get into that West Coast stuff. I was more New York City, and like
I've got this folder on my USB that I haven't. It's just called like 80s and 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just
The guys.
classic. Yeah.
the
yeah.
guys,
The good stuff.
Yeah. And there was also that, and just those killer 808 kick drums, and it was just fat and. But what it was for me is when I first heard it, when I was exposed to it through like 4ZZZ.
Yep.
4ZZZ was like a place where I get that, the Fat Tape radio show. I think there was a show that preceded that. The dance music program would sometimes feature it. But I was exposed to it at school before nightclubbing, clearly.
Yeah.
And it was through older brothers of girlfriends. Like there was a guy who gave me the cassette tapes of Adamski's Musical Factory, who was the guy that first featured Seal.
Really?
So Seal was a rave MC.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, really. Like he was a rave MC before he became Seal.
Yeah.
And he
Was he
featured
called
on
Seal still?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So he was featured on Dr. Adamski's Musical Factory, which was this awesome like acid.
I want to hear that now.
Dude,
Like,
it's
I want to
sick.
hear,
It's
I wonder
sick.
if you obviously, can you find that
Yeah,
online?
you can Google it. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, cool.
So easy to find. But he had this this cassette tape, and he had this he was featuring Seal, and I was like, that's great. And he goes, man, that guy's an MC. And so like I started getting in touch with this concept that there was like in London these Jamaican MCs, these toasters who would freestyle over the dance music. While
Toasters, was that what they...
well, toasting's what the origins of what I do is.
Oh, okay.
So toasting
Is that what it's... Okay.
that's where so it comes from Jamaican dance hall.
Oh, cool.
So
There you go.
if you've seen those pictures of there's a guy with like one turntable and there's like 50 cassette players behind them, and the room is full with dudes pressing cassette players, and there's a dude on a microphone, and it's in a skate rink. Like that's the origins of what
That's
it is
so
that
sick.
MCs do, right?
That's so
And so
sick.
what they would do is they'd play a record, and then he'd run it through a sampler in these cassette tapes, and then he'd loop it and put effects on it, and he used his effects on his thing. and then he'd play a loop, which was a loop of the record, like whatever the hit rock and roll record was or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the MC would do a version. So a version is like, I'm going to rock around the clock tonight. It's like, I'm going to rave around till I run out right. You know, it's like, I'm going to use the same words. I'm going to use similar words, similar timing, definitely the same harmony. I'm just going to redo it live for who's in front of me, so that I can feel in time while the DJ flips the record on his one record player and then does the thing again. Yeah. Because they didn't figure it out. It was like 2 record players. And it's like, that came later.
That's
so it was like, so that was kind of, that's the origin. And toasting is where your primary job is to big up the DJ and to big up the crowd.
So like
and
a hype man. A lot of people would know it as a hype man.
So a hype man is the American version of toasting. Okay, and there you go, hype man is and that's a whole different art form again. But
how's it different then? Can you explain that? Is it easy to
sure.
Yeah, because I'm interested to hear.
So toasting versus hype man. Toasting is more, I would say, more musically eloquent than hype man.
I gotcha.
So hype man, and we've all heard Fat Man Scoop and those type of dudes. They're using more the power in the voice, the energy. It's not so much about what they say.
Yeah.
Whereas the toaster is very much about what they say. It's deliberate for that reason. Yeah. You'll find hype men or guys that class as hype men who will have toasting capacity but just don't recognize that that's what they're doing. So, I mean, we're talking...
Probably these days everything starts blurring and merging into each other, doesn't it? Like there's bits of stuff, it sort of cross-pollinates, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But that's the difference between the two sort of specific... I understand what you mean. I can think of that.
Yeah, and also a hype man is usually a backing man to a rapper.
Yeah.
So hype man, generally, I know all of your lyrics. You're the feature, you're Ice Cube. Yeah. I'm your hype man. Therefore, I know all of your lyrics. So when you need to take a breath, I fill in.
Yeah.
So I'm your backup guy. I'm like your backing in the rock and roll world. I would be known as a backing vocalist. Mm-hmm. But I'm a hype man because sometimes I'll be called on to take front and center.
Yeah.
So I can take front stage when old mate needs to have a nap or smoke a blunt or whatever he's doing, where you're like, okay, so you need to
have a drink of water or
do some yoga backstage. And,
sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever it is. Yeah. But so these guys have a capacity to hold stage and hold energy in that place.
Yeah.
Toasters potentially don't have that. So toaster would generally kind of not have the amount of content that a hype man might have. They'd be able to continue as long as the DJ could continue playing. A hype man could hold space without anything.
Yeah. Just on stage, no music.
No music, no nothing. So that's a different technique as well. So it's like part stand-up comedian, part fucking energetic maestro.
Yeah.
And so I'll use those tactics and techniques, and then I'll use toasting, and then I put together my rapping or singing or dancehall Jamaican. Because of the long hours on the microphone from the rave scene, I developed lots of different characters, and those different characters and personalities and styles was because they'd start off the night with hip hop and hip house and then go into house music and then go into trance and finish it off with hardcore. And I was the one MC that had to do all of it.
Yeah.
Because
so
I wanted to.
Adjust
you got to adjust to make it sound like it's right for that music. And so it always cracks me up when I have trance DJs that you don't MC to trance. I'm like, I MC'd to trance for the first 10 years, man.
Yeah. Maybe you don't MC to trance, but I do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you can do it so that you don't sound like there's a vocalist. You use effects units and you lace it in, or you make your voice sound like a sample to sit in the music so it doesn't detract from. But if you're watching stage, you realize again there's that human element, and suddenly there's that connection.
Yeah.
And so it just
brings another level to things, really. Like it just adds another layer on top, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it then go from, you were going to these raves and you're doing like, the dancing and the emceeing and all that. When did it start to transition to just emceeing sort of at shows and
just being a career move?
Yeah, or when you sort of moved away from maybe just doing the dancing and you linked up with Kid Kenobi and you started doing all those things.
Well, there
with
was
the
kind of
emceeing,
about there was about a 10-year transition period.
Yeah.
So it was like mostly hardcore, like hardcore dance music that gave me a platform to be MCNO3.
Yep.
So that was my first stage name.
Yep.
And so I ran that guy up until the late 90s.
How did you get that name? What's NO3? What's that to do with?
I thought it was the chemical component for nitrous oxide, but it's not.
Is that NO2?
Yeah.
You were one.
Yeah. I was one off. I was one off. But then I justified
oxygen
it.
Molecule off.
Yeah, that's right. And so then when I found that reality out, I still loved the MC name, and then I actually embellished it with meaning. So it's like the three levels, like the turntable, the DJ, the crowd, or the turntable, DJ, and the music, mind, body, soul. So there was this whole spiritual evolution behind Trilogy that came out, not religious. Yeah. It was just more spiritual observation.
Isn't that funny though that like, you think about back like before the internet was massive and we had it in our pocket.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't, how do you find that?
Well,
how do you find what NO2 is? You got to go to the library.
Britannica,
that's what I mean. You got to go to an encyclopedia
Britannica
to find out what the chemical element is.
Yeah,
from
or a
nitrous
dictionary.
Whereas like now, it's like you just, what is it? And you can find it instantly. It's like so.
I know.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, me too. It's crazy. And so yeah, NO3 was the analog age. And I was going to mention this. Yeah. So this was like analog up until the late 90s, right? And then MC Shureshock was created specifically on the switch of me expanding my lyric base in drum and bass and breakbeat specifically.
Yeah, okay.
So I was working with Shade and Shredlock. So Shade, Breck Volker, and Shredlock, Scott Reed.
I've heard Shredlock before.
He was
heard
like
the name
called the granddaddy of breaks. And,
okay, that's probably
he was the resident up at the Moon Bar. Amazing DJ. Really good mate of mine. His younger brother Stuart, DJ Lecter, was in Zephyr Tamba, which was the band that I would join. So anyway, got to the late 90s. Did a sea change, went to Byron. On a spiritual quest, did that thing, got veggie, got sober, really got into my yoga, had a massive transformation, had a spiritual epiphany around this, wanting to do this band, It was like a vision. And I came back and I sort of threw down a bit of new boundaries on how I was going to interact in the rave world. I wasn't going to do it for $50 all night anymore. I was like, man, everyone's shaking my hand as they leave the place. I was like,
I'm worth more than
I'm worth more than
something.
I was like, oh, everyone knows me.
I'm underselling myself.
I'm like significantly. And so that cut me out of a lot of gigs, thankfully, and then put me into the new hemisphere, working in the breakbeat scene with the guys that really, really appreciated what I was doing, and gave me a vehicle to build that world.
Yeah.
And so I was doing acting college. Decided to go back and study acting, and then my technical abilities went from rave MC guy who had a spiritual epiphany to like uber competent artist, because I was doing this acting training that was like 50 contact hours a week.
That's a lot, man.
They canned it after 2 years. Kids were popping like fucking fried eggs, man. It was
that's a lot. Like you think about a normal work, like normal full-time job's like 38 hours or whatever.
And that was before like rehearsals. So like some of these weeks were like, 80, 90 hour weeks, which is normal for an artist, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was an amazing, amazing thing. And that really shaped my performance techniques in a much vaster way.
Yep.
And then I met Zephyr Tamba, which was my band for the next sort of 5 years.
Yep.
And started working with Kid Kenobi. So how'd
you meet Jesse, Kid Kenobi? Like, how did that happen? That connection there?
So that was actually through a friend of mine, Jane Slingo, who'd moved down to Sydney, and she later became our manager. And she kept telling me about this guy. I was coming down emceeing these boat parties as MC in 03, and then I was doing this MC Shureshock thing, and then I had this Zephyr Tamba thing. And the industry was crossing over from analog to digital, and it was a really full on time.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of change, a lot of new ideas,
a lot of new ideas
coming. Yeah.
And you know, there were some weeks where I was touring, you know, 5 states, 3 gigs in different states a day.
Yeah.
And doing that over a weekend. Do you know what I mean? But different things like MCN 03, Zephyr Tamba, Kid Kenobi thing.
Yeah.
Like it was just like they were really busy days, you know? And so, so anyway, we were doing these blueprint parties at the Globe, which was drum and bass downstairs, breakbeat upstairs. And so I got invited to come down and work with a guy called Diz One, who later would work with Melbourne guys whose name escapes me. They were a really big electronic breakbeat act. But anyway, but all the guys from the early thousands who ever became anything, you know, from your Groove Terminators to your Infusions to your Goodwills to like any of the big names, all partied at this club. Like everyone went there, and then we went otherwheres, you know, and that was the hub. That was the zone where we all did our thing. And so I met Jesse. We started hanging out, started doing a couple of gigs together. Jane was like, yeah, you just got to, and like pretty much from the first gig, I was like, this guy's fucking dope.
Yeah,
like,
Jesse's
you know,
legend.
like, and we get along nice and easy. And then it was really the first tour that sort of cemented the friendship. We went to Threadbow. We got a tour up there and stayed for a couple of days.
Yep.
Learned to snowboard after no sleep and hung out, stood on the balcony with our shirts off in the snow going, I think we're going to do great things. Like, it's I think
if you had Instagram, then you would have had the photo from behind and stuff.
Different days.
Yeah, I know. That's it. Yeah, the photo.
Yeah, but yeah, and then literally it was like my band was going really well. We're doing some really big tours. We're touring with Jamiroquai, Moby, Michael Franti. We're doing all the big stadiums nationally. And Jesse had just been offered Ministry of Sound Clubbers Guide to Breaks, which was the first breakbeat CD in the world on Ministry of Sound. Yeah. And he'd asked me to MC on it. And so that was the first MC in the world to MC on Ministry of Sound over breakbeats, over this compilation. And then that was when it started, the wheels turning, you know, like my band started coming, was about to release an album, and then the 2 producers, key producers, couldn't work together anymore. There was a friendship dissolving, and there was a whole bunch of other really painful and difficult reasons about the way it
as
dissolved.
Happens with bands, and when, you know, that's why it's easy being a solo artist, like and producer by yourself. You don't have to worry about the band or other people's creative or personal or anything like that. You know,
there is a magic behind that.
It's definitely
that and a power and an experience. Like all the good bands will all tell you, you know, the most important thing is the friendships and the camaraderie that was created. Yeah. It's like, it's just like, it's amazing. And, you know, so when that project started to fall down, like early 2000s, mid 2000s, just on the cusp of the big album, that's when Jane was like, we'd done a couple of Ministry of Sound CDs by that stage.
Yep.
We're hitting all the big stages with Kid, and we're hitting all the big stages with Zephyr. And then Jane was like, oh, well, you know, there's a big tour in the UK. Do you want to do that? And I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so, who's going to say no to that?
Like, it's like, yeah, let's do that.
Do you want to go over to another country and get to see it and like, you know, get paid and stuff and
get paid
to
play
shows and things you love? Like,
yeah, that's right. And in the place that is the mecca of what it is that you do, you know?
It's like, of course.
Yeah, of course. And and that was cool. And we went over and slept on the lounge room at my friend Toby's house for fucking weeks and weeks and weeks. And
Totally worth it.
yeah, it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
15 grand on the credit card, totally worth it.
Yeah.
Had no money, no worries.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but
The
it was
memories though, and the,
it was
the
amazing.
moments, like, yeah, you know, you
amazing. And standing up there at Tea in the Park and having like, you know, festival, I think there was 150,000 at the festival, and, you know, having a full room, bouncing kangaroos and Aussie flags and Aussie at the start after DJ Sneak in the house room. We're the only breakbeat act in that room, you know. All of the like Stand Warriors and Crafty, and they're like, how the fuck did you get that set, mate? And we're like, I don't know, but it's great.
yeah,
you know? So,
those was, yeah.
you know, it was good. They were really good times. And then, you know, Jesse became Australia's #1 DJ a couple of times.
I was going to say, I think that's important for people to know, like, who Jesse Kid Kenobi is, because in that era, like, I think he won the DJ Mag comp like 5 years in a row. Or he won it heaps. I know.
The
3 in a row, was it? And but I think
was three
he
in
might
a
have won
row.
it 5 in total though, maybe. I don't know.
No.
I remember he had a big run of it where he was just killing it.
3. There was the it was the
And this is back when it was actually like, it wasn't just based on social. You couldn't just run social media ads to get votes. You know,
but
it
then
was actually,
then it all got
now it's a little bit
changed.
like, oh yeah, if you put enough marketing dollars into your social media, you can get people to vote for you on.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. That's right.
you know what you're doing.
You can manipulate it through marketing, and
Whereas
that's
back then
always
it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't like that then.
Yeah.
And although, to be fair, there was solid marketing around him.
Yeah.
Because he had he was going out with Chloe Maxwell, who was quite famous at the time. I think he did a cover on GM, like Bachelor of the Year, or like there was all these
Other things outside of music.
of music that contributed. So when you want to say like, you know, but you can affect marketing. You can affect marketing back then, and marketing did affect that,
just
that
different.
for him. It's different.
Yeah, it's different,
But
yeah.
social media manipulation and algorithms and likes and paid.
Yeah.
Like, you
It's
know,
a whole different thing now.
paying a like farm over in Vietnam to make
But that stuff's
email
pretty
addresses
obvious now.
well, it isn't. It isn't. Like, you know, it's still like.
And to be honest, I know artists now who, when that was first started, the likes and stuff, they maybe did it, and it actually now hurts them because they've got all these followers, but the engagement's not
Zero.
on there. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
engagement,
right.
so it's
It's called
actually
a dead
kind of,
profile.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what happens. It's like when you pay for the like farms to big up your thing, what it does is it creates a dead profile, and then you got to start again. And you know, there's a whole bunch.
Because you've got all these people, you know, you've got all these likes.
Man.
You've got 100,000 likes or something, and you every post has got like 3 likes or something, and like, no one comments 3 likes. It's like,
or it's like I'm glad like Dural Digamakar from Israel, like he says, oh, like, glory to God. Yeah, he loves your stuff. Like, it's like, no, it's like, so, but like, you know, it's been an interesting, I mean,
you've seen it from the start.
We didn't know anything about it. I remember seeing it when it first started off, and this before I even got a MySpace. I was like, no, this is bullshit, man. I don't want to do any of this stuff.
See, I got onto Facebook super early because I was at college at uni in 2005, and we had people from America come over to do, you know, uni and do like a thing over here for half a year, and they were all like, oh, this new thing that just started at like Harvard, it's called Facebook. Like, and it's,
I know.
and it's, you know, and then so I got on it in 2005, super early, you know, like, so because we had heard of it, and yeah, it was interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Seeing how it's grown, and it's like a whole thing now. You know, it wasn't real big. Like, I didn't think it was when I started in 2008 with DJing. I didn't think even though social media was around, I didn't think it would be as big a thing as it is now.
Oh man, now
it's huge now.
Now
it's massive.
Well, yeah, you've got tech giants that are shutting down the American president.
Yeah,
like we're now there.
Yeah,
we're now at a point where they're more influential. I mean, have you seen The Social Dilemma?
Yeah, I've watched that. Yeah,
and you know, like we've created a monster, and it ain't going away anytime soon. And they can buy and bribe and manipulate however they like to affect whatever change they want to do. That's happened. Ta-da! And it's the algorithm, you know. So for me, looking at how that And it becomes evident when you go and like you go to a family barbecue or something like that at a friend's place. And my friend and I were pointing this out in the conversation, noticing people's concepts surrounding like Donald Trump, for example, to notice what social media feed manipulation is being fed to them based on their biases. And so you've got this little pot over here going, yeah, he's against the pedophiles. And then you got this little bunch over here going, oh, he's like the worst thing since Hitler. And then you like, there's nowhere is there a balanced understanding that is okay to discuss the pros and cons. It's just you're either for it or against it. This polar binary thinking is poisonous because this is not the world. The world doesn't work in binary polar. It's always, not black and white.
Yeah, it's not black and white, and it's not easy and simple. It's often nuanced, and it's like there's it's like, oh yeah, you can say that, but there's also this which plays it like.
And you've got to be prepared, like, going through what we're going through with the evolution of deep fakes and all that type of stuff. Now it's like it's one of the reasons that I am so heavily involved in yoga, to balance my music world energy. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk more to that. But the basic concept of being able to be grounded yet open-minded. So it's like I force myself these days to have conversations with people I know I'm not going to agree with. Yeah. So like there's a guy at the gym who's, violent. He's discussed his violence with me. He's discussed his attitude towards women, which is abhorrent. Yeah. And then he's decided that he's going to share with me about his, crazy conspiracy theories about that every woman is married to the government and like we're getting out there, right? And so, but I'm like, you know what? Like I need to be aware that this opinion's out there,
It's about understanding that
it's about understanding. And also like, where'd you get your information, by the way? Yeah. Like I'm curious to know how you arrived. How did you
end up like this?
Yeah. Like how did it happen?
Yeah.
But in less of a judgmental way and in more
that's why I have empathy. That's why I have empathy for people like, who maybe have opinions that we would think would be not the standard or not
outliers.
Outliers or like against what we would think is good. It's like I always think to myself, how did you get to this stage? Like what happened in your life for this to be your viewpoint? Like I always think of that. Like,
that's right.
And I always try and think of that, even when people are like, when people attack you online or they say something nasty to you or whatever, or they're mean or bitchy or something. I always think about that. Like what happened in your life that made you this way? Because you're not born like that.
No.
You learn that throughout your life. Right, so it's like, how do you do that? I think it's a good chance to talk a bit about the yoga. We'll come back to the music and that. So I didn't know that you were like spiritual into yoga at such a long time ago.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like when you said like with the band in the early 20s, I only saw it more recently when you've really gotten into it in the last couple of years and being a teacher and doing classes and stuff. So talk to us a little bit about, how that you obviously, so you're into it.
How did you become a yoga?
How do you become a yogi? So how did it, so you said you were interested in that
from a young age.
Yeah. So this is something for your whole life then?
This has been
okay, see, I didn't know this.
Yeah, that's right. So for me, I started doing martial arts when I was about 7. So my dad dragged me to a Taekwondo studio because he realized I was getting bullied. There was like, I came back from Singapore. I lived in Singapore for a couple of years. Came back once with an American accent, came back with a British accent both times. Had the piss beaten out of you at school. And it's just like, very racist back in those days. Yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. So, and because I copped racism when I was in Singapore as well. Super racist place. And as a white guy, we'd just cop it. Me and my brother would cop it on the bus, and the bigger Indian boys would always give a shit and round eye, smell like cheese. Like you'd just be like, fucking hell. Like, you know, like it was crazy. So anyway, coming back and experiencing that in Australia as well, I was just like, this is all messed up.
Just everywhere you go.
Right. I was just like, this is just,
I can't win.
No, I can't win.
But
I want to learn to protect myself. So my dad took me to martial arts, and I had this amazing trainer, Kusuk Chung, and he taught us to meditate. Yeah. So that's at 7.
So that's how it started.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
And so he pretty much saved my life. And I've said this before because in my teens where I started coming undone through heartbreaks and stuff like that, and I'm adopted. So
really?
there was the separation anxiety stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Which would come up in around relationship, which would make my experience of relationship much more volatile. Yeah. And I just didn't know why, you know? So then in my teens, I got into more meditation to try and solve emotional angst in my late teens. And my asana, my yoga practice was gymnastics and breakdancing. So I always had a physical discipline, whether it was martial arts, gymnastics, breakdancing, did lots of other sport, rowing, soccer, whatever.
So just gymnastics quickly, how much did you do of that? Because like I was heavily into gymnastics.
Yeah, me too.
I did it for 10 years and I actually won nationals in
you won
2001.
Oh, cool.
For level 7. I wasn't.
Oh, no, that's great.
But that's still,
level 7 still on the way to the Olympics.
Still pretty good. Yeah. Well,
great.
my sister, way better than I ever was. She was at the QAS here and she,
oh, wow.
She technically, she should have made the London Olympics because she came 5th and they take a team of 6. But what they do with gymnastics in the teams events, they take the 4 like all arounds and then they took 2 specialists.
Ah, sure.
So she got
ousted because of that.
She wasn't a specialist on a thing. So she should have gone to the London Olympics. She didn't because of, you know, how they do it, but she was far better than me. So
well, I wasn't there. I mean, I won senior B championships at my school.
Because they've got in private schools around here, they do gymnastics comps.
That's right. Yeah,
which is crazy because I grew up in Cairns, so there was none of that.
None of that.
Yeah,
no, look, we were competing with the state guys. We went to state, round about grade 11, I continued with my gymnastics, but that's when the breakdancing became like, that's more of what it is that I'm into. Yeah. And that took precedence.
But that would have helped. Like gymnastics helps so that much. So the proprioception and just the knowing how your body moves.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Same with yoga. Like, you know, like when I only sort of started, you know, to talk about yoga again, I only started like a couple of years ago and I just got right into it because it reminded me a little bit of gymnastics. But then also bringing in the other stuff of the, you know, the meditation and the mindfulness and the, you know, that
awareness training,
the awareness stuff. Yeah. I absolutely love yin.
Oh yeah.
Yin is my favorite of all of them, you know, like,
it's good for a balance for somebody who's very like driven and very yang energy like yourself.
Exactly.
So you need the balance. And like I struggled with yin when I first got into it because I was so yang. But then that's where the lesson came. Like that, like the struggle is what gave me so much, that taught me so much and gave me so much more freedom in my body as well.
Yeah,
so
that's it. Like with yin, you don't even realize that like when I first started, I was like, I got, you know, and I was doing a heap of yoga. Like I was going to like 10 classes a week. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like of all different, you know, kinds of classes and stuff. And then like I stopped for a while and then when I went back to yin and did a class, it was like that 1 hour, it was like my mind was just kept like, you know what I mean? Like you can't like not think.
I want to get out of here.
You like start thinking about I wonder what tomorrow, like, you know, like you just get those thoughts in your mind. And
it's just you're aware of it. You like the stillness creates the space for you to notice it.
Yeah. And then after not doing it for a while and then going back, I was like, oh, this is actually really hard. Like you need to practice it. Yeah. And actually like, you know, do it regularly to do it. It's a skill.
Yeah. But it's also, I mean, the yogis call it abhyasa and vairagya, which is like daily practice with dispassion. Yeah. So it's like, I just do this because that's what I do. Yeah. And I'm not attached to whether I can do a handstand or not, or I'm also not trying to replicate the move I did yesterday. It's a continual exploration of the present moment of what's in my body now and honoring that.
Yeah.
So when you're right in your practice, you might be like halfway through a sequence and then just take child's pose and chill out.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, not today. Like I just
Yeah,
need to breathe and be here.
Yeah.
You know? For me, it's always been like up until my 20s, it was like I stepped in at meditation. So I wasn't even involved in asana besides martial arts training.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Byron Bay in my early 20s, I got right into Kundalini Tantra. So I basically wanted to unravel why my relationships were creating me so much suffering, right?
Yeah.
And so part of that was like, understanding a new relation to my sexual self through tantric practice.
Yep.
Got vegetarian for a good point.
You still vegetarian now? Or is it something you do?
Much more vegetables than protein.
Yeah.
And oscillate time to time.
Yeah.
My wife needs to be adding me. I'm not blaming her for me not being vegetarian, but I'm not attached to it or not attached to it.
That's what I think. I think it's like, I think it's good to just, what your body needs.
What your body
at
needs
a certain point in time.
And also, to be really honest, it's like, if I've got the space and the time and I'm doing my vegetarianism right, my body thrives.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I rip up and everything's good,
Yeah.
So I'm not like, I don't do it for it's more lifestyle associated diet for me at the moment. But then, so from then during my music world, it was kind of like I'd do these retreats and detoxes and continue practice, variety of practices, Japanese yoga, hatha, yin, power, hot yoga, cold yoga, it was just like whatever was kind of like in my life at that time until about a decade ago. It was probably a little bit before that. About 12 years ago, I started getting really serious and continue with my practice. And then about 7 and a bit years ago, that's when I really dove in. I really
noticed in the last maybe 4 or 5 years after I knew you from the family days and stuff. More recently, when maybe you've just put it out and you started teaching and doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, before then I wasn't really making it public.
You're just
I was just
practicing.
practitioner.
It's your practice.
Yeah, that's right. And I've only been teaching for sort of about it's coming up to 6 years now.
And so, do you enjoy teaching?
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
For me,
it's almost like another art form of MCing, not MCing, but it's, you know what I mean? Like you're leading the practice, you're engaging,
that's it.
With all
that. If anyone who knows me from my MC world who comes to my classes is like, that just made heaps of sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have to hide who I am to be yogic. It's like, it's an extension of passion and insight of who I am on a deeper level that I'm sharing with the same vibrance and energy that I would when I'm emceeing.
Yeah.
But, if we're talking about yogic energy, the 3 modes of energy, tamas being the sort of heavy, depressed, darker energy. Then you've got rajas, which is, Facebook world, exciting, passion, where it always crashes. And then we're always aiming towards sattva, which is the mode of goodness. So in that regard, you'll get elements of fire that I'll throw in there that will remind people of my emceeing world. But then the energy is more engaged in sattva, which is like, insight, intuition, wisdom around body movement. And then also I lace the classes with themes as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it's more like
I think Jesse was doing some
with Kelly
DJ. Yeah, he was
that's
doing
right,
and it was, he was DJing, but it wasn't like dance music or anything. It was like appropriate music for a yoga class.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
really
so I've been asked to do a whole bunch of those. His wife is a very well-known yoga teacher.
Okay, yeah. So that's obviously makes total sense.
That's right. So this is a vehicle for those guys to express that.
I thought that was really cool though. Like that'd be really awesome to go and see, because then you're also getting the energy and the art form from the instructor, and then you've got a DJ
music,
that's giving you, another form of art.
Yeah. So if on that regard, I was asked to do one with Phil Smart. Don't know if you know that guy. He's like one of the legends of Australian dance music. But we got talking about doing one, in a room about this size, surrounded with like bass bands,
This used
basically.
to be a yoga studio.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because there's a little sign outside that's got like a mobile phone with a like cross through it. It's like no mobile phones in the room. Yeah, there you go. There used to be like a little like chalkboard thing downstairs with like
roster.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, not a roster. Just like it had like messages of messages of like positivity.
Positivity.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean.
But I've got a concept that we were going to debut, and then COVID hit. With Trent Cutloose. Cutloose. And myself. So
cool.
where he does his cut and cut thing, and then I do the yoga. So he DJs the tunes, and we do that.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you get a little snack, Yeah. So look, that's yet to be debuted, but that'll be coming out as well. So
announcement.
That's right.
Have you told anyone about that?
Only Trent.
Yeah. No, but the world.
No, we haven't.
That's an exclusive. We've got an exclusive.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's right. And and so we were going to do that at this Equinox outdoor party down at the Gold Coast, but it got canned.
Well, if you ever get it going again, definitely.
Oh man,
because I'll love to come to that.
Of course, it's going to get videoed.
Hang out with you and Trent, and then get to eat some mad food and do some
right?
yoga.
It's just it all makes sense.
It's win-win.
It all makes sense. It's like these are all things I like to do. Happy days, And it'll be outdoors, and we'll video it, so we'll bring you some footage and stuff like that. There's all those concepts, and the Wanderlust guys have talked to me about doing a similar MC Yogi concept. So we'll see once that all sort of opens up.
You got to wait
again.
till COVID. Like I'm devo about like the Sydney thing, because you know how Jesse was meant to come up and play at the New Year's Day. I'd spoken to him about coming on the podcast, and I was so excited. So I was like, it'd be so good to get Jesse on and have a chat, because I've like met him a few heap of times when we used to come up and play. And
as of Monday, it's all open again. So we'll see what happens.
Well, so last year I actually planned to go to Sydney and go to Melbourne and for like a week in each city and like record just spend a whole week there recording, just every day recording with people from Sydney, people from Melbourne, and then be able to release those. But obviously COVID, and so then I suppose that's on the cards for this year. So I'm hoping to organise that and get down to Sydney and Melbourne.
Well, it certainly changed a lot. Like, I mean, for a lot of people, just on the COVID thing, I pretty much lost everything in one big foul swoop. No yoga, no emceeing. I have a past career in hospitality, can't do restaurants. So, and luckily, because I was already planning to move out of studio and create my own online programs. So it was like the universe going, here's your chance. So I've just literally finished all the filming, and I'm just finishing the editing of my first
announcement.
Yeah, this one's another announcement for my yoga online course.
Cool. So when are you going to launch that then? Let's got to finish.
I got to finish the editing, which should be done in the next couple of days.
You said you were doing
and
some
then,
editing.
And then my website for yogicam.com.au is coming up on Monday or Tuesday. It's already there, but the actual content's being uploaded shortly. So basically I've used that time to teach myself to video edit, to record. I've got all the gear, everything's done. So it's been a really useful time of upskilling for me. So that then now I can kind of
so what you need to hear.
Oh, it's what you need.
Because like so many people I felt when COVID hit, they were just in the dumps. If they were people like yourself or DJs particularly, who their identity and their purpose is wrapped up in that. And then all of a sudden that's gone. And so a lot of them got, they're like very down and start drinking, playing video games, not doing anything productive. And I was really, probably went a little bit too far sometimes trying to push people to, find something, try new things, learn some new skills. What are you going to do now? Like, like we don't know what's going to happen. What can you do now? You can do something now. Start
Yeah,
learning.
that's right. That's right.
Pick up a new skill, a new hobby, a new something. Like I really push that on people, and
Yeah.
sometimes I went too far, and but
Yeah, no,
but
look,
you know, like it was
they're gonna make
it was
learns.
coming from a good place to try and be like, come on, guys, like there's a lot of opportunity now, even though even though it was a lot of lost things that we lost, there was so much opportunity available because now. Well,
You got
everyone's
time.
online, and you've got
time.
You've got time.
That's right. Yeah.
Everyone's online. Everyone's eyeballs are in the same space. Make the most of it.
Yeah.
And some of the things that you've seen come out, now are incredible.
Well, now I've transitioned out of yoga studios.
Yeah.
I do Zoom classes, and I've built a private yoga business. I'm also doing life coaching, and sort of taken my life experience and wrapping it up into not just yoga teacher, because I achieved everything I wanted to achieve just before COVID hit. So I taught teacher trainings. I'd achieved my ERYT 500, which is experienced registered yoga teacher. So I've done all the hours, the experience. It's kind of anything you need to open your own school, and then realized the market was saturated and realized my sustainability was numbered if I wanted to run around and teach classes in studio for other people's businesses, and also not being in a position of wanting to go swimming in a crowded market, and also realizing I'm more than just a yoga teacher. Yeah. And the yoga teaching for me was always just a component to add to my skill set of my kind of opus mentis, my life's work, which is creating a fully organic, holistic approach to artist mentorship. Yes, so it's like, you've got the physical training, you've got diet, you've got the music and studio stuff, you've got then, life belief system, transitions and
mindset, all
of that
there's
stuff.
So many things. Yeah. It's it's the whole package.
That's right. Yeah. And so now I'm kind of at that point where I've done that, and now I'm just formatting what I can sell to the world as far as my yoga offerings that I've got there, and re-engaging with the music stuff, and of course the Fun Police with the music which is coming out of the COVID.
I think I think there's some really cool stuff that you could do with Clubhouse, which is a new app that I've been talking about, and we said I'll talk to you a little bit about it as well. But let's have a quick break, mainly because I need to go take a piss, and then we'll come back, and I think we'll talk about maybe Clubhouse and what you're doing now with music and stuff like that. Because I definitely want to talk about the Fun Police and all the stuff you're doing with Journeyman, and
cool.
all that kind of stuff. So let's have a quick break, and we'll come right back. See you soon, guys. All right, so we're back, guys. We've just had a quick break, and I mentioned Clubhouse before.
Yes.
Because this could be huge for what you're talking about and what you're doing. So Clubhouse, for everyone out there who hasn't had a chance to see it yet, it is invite only, so it's a little bit difficult to get on at the moment. I will be trying to give out as many invites as I can, but you get more the more you use it. So and you can give them out. But essentially, what it is, it's it's just chat rooms that are audio only. There's no messaging. There's no sharing photos or videos or anything like that. Like, you can't message people at all. So if you want to send someone a message, you link your Instagrams and that, so they can follow you on Instagram and send you a message that way. Right. But the beauty of it is, like, I've never been on a social media platform where I've felt so connected instantly and built such strong relationships in such a short time, because it's not text messaging, it's not messaging written, it's not sharing photos and videos, it's actually talking to people. So it's kind of like this, but not.
So podcasts?
Well, no, it's rooms, like chat rooms. So the best way to describe it is it's like going to like a seminar or something where you've got like speakers on the stage, right? So you can go into rooms, and sometimes it'll have just a couple of speakers, and they're giving like information out for everyone else, and everyone else is listening. They can also bring people up to the stage. So if someone wants to, if they go, oh, has anyone got a question, like you want to ask, and people can raise their hand, and then they can bring them up to the stage, and then they can ask their question, and then they can, put them back into the audience. Right. Or there's rooms where they just put everyone on the stage, and you just have big conversation amongst yourselves. Yeah, right. And so there's At the moment, there's there's everything. There's chat rooms for everything. Entrepreneurial stuff. There'd be yoga stuff. There's music production. There's Star Wars. There's comics. There's like anything you can think of. There's
But
chat rooms.
it hasn't turned into a profiling for people's particular businesses so much. It's more about
it's there, but it's like it's there,
not,
but
it's not as in your face.
It's more about connecting and sharing, and a lot of the stuff I've been in. It's but there's rooms for everything.
Yeah.
So there's rooms where people are just hanging out, talking.
It sounds.
You know what I mean?
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like back in the day, Yahoo chat.
Yes,
like
exactly.
You know,
like
when you were
ICQ.
Yeah, it was like
stuff. It's like
you're
that,
like you got
but
all
it's
these
voice.
rooms. What are we going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. What are we going to talk? Hello. It was the weirdest thing, man. I had a girl that I used to chat with back when those chat rooms first kicked off, and just turned up on Facebook. Like I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, hang on a second. I remembered the name. And I was like, did you used to chat in this? I was like, she's like, yeah. And I was like, were you really from America? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah,
like,
what?
We weren't even pretending to be someone else. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's literally like that, but with voice,
yeah, right.
not chat. So it's really interesting. It's really like I've already connected with a guy. I've been in a few rooms with him, and we've sort of chatted. And he's in Nashville. He's a singer, and he's like, we've been talking, and he said one time, "Oh, I'd love to come out to Australia sometime. I haven't been there before." And I was like, "Oh, well, if you come, I've got a recording studio. Like, you got to come through and check it out." And he's like, and you know, and I was like, we can work on some music and that. And he's like,
great.
well, let's just work on some music now, like. And so I've only been on it since Wednesday, 2 days, and I've already made a connection with someone in Nashville
To make music.
Yeah, I've connected with someone who's a podcaster who's produced over 700 podcasts. You know, I've connected and shared with people who want to start a podcast in Australia and stuff like that. I connected with someone who podcasts here in Brisbane that I had never heard of or known. So just like the potential to find and connect with people and build something there's not a lot of people in Australia that are on it at the moment. Like it's still pretty fresh over here.
Sounds very exclusive.
But it'll keep getting bigger. That's why I'm in now. I'm like,
you're like, this is the next Facebook, motherfuckers.
But I'm trying to like really go hard on it and really establish myself on it. So once everyone else gets on, it's like, hey guys, come chill. This is how it works.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so
cool.
really excited about it, and I think the potential for it is massive. I'm going to start doing a weekly show on there. I hosted a room yesterday, which was about. It said, "Why should I start a podcast?" And so it was like, and so people came into the room who are like. And it's like, oh, have you got a podcast or are you thinking of starting one? They're like, oh, I've been thinking of starting one. And it's like, oh, cool. So what are you thinking about? And we just have a chat about about that stuff. And I'm actually hosting one at 8:00 after this.
Oh, cool.
As well. So
great.
So they're easy to do and it's fun.
Link me up so I can check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's invite only, and you only get 2 invites when you start, and then the more you use the app, they give you more. So if you use more and you're contributing and doing good stuff, they'll give you more. So yeah,
you should be up to 1 million pretty soon.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. And I would, if anyone out there can get on it from an invite from a friend or something, definitely do it. And go and hang out. And because honestly, I've never had a social media app where I felt so connected to other people on it so quick. Instantly, it almost feels like you're friends straight away, kind of thing. Because you're actually talking. It's not this text. It's not, there's no barrier there. It's actually talking.
Sure.
And a lot of people who maybe don't feel comfortable on camera, you don't have the video. So it's just the audio. So
that sounds cool. That sounds interesting, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
nice.
You'll definitely have to jump on that. But let's talk about what you're doing now with the Fun Police. You've been doing stuff with Journeyman. I want to talk about the Fun Police because I don't know a lot about what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So it's THA Fun Police because there's a THE Fun Police. So it's as in hip hop.
You know what? I actually reserved I started all the socials for it before you guys started the Fun Police.
The Funk Police?
The Funk Police.
Because I keep seeing that on my Instagram. I'm like, who's done this?
Who's the Funk Police? Yeah, that's me. I started that because I was like, that's a cool name, like the Funk Police.
Yeah, no, that's right. And when I'm rapping it, sometimes it sounds like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the genesis of that was I met Kenny Beeper on New Year's Day at the Crafty Cut show, and I was emceeing for Crafty and for Spender and those guys, and then he said, "Oh, let's do a track." So he sent me a tune. And it was wicked. It was with Dyslexic from Melbourne, who's a MC out of Melbourne. So we did a collab and released a track. And it was great. And I was really happy with the process, really easy to work with. And then Snooze and I had connected at the Elements Festival the year before.
Yep.
He had tried reaching out a few times on socials, but I was really bad at getting back at that time, doing other things. And I sort of I rocked up with Journeyman about to play, and he was on before me, and I stuck my head around the corner, and he was like, "Oh, Shureshock," and just passed me the mic. I was like, "Dude, you don't need to ask twice." Like he plays the dopest breaks, and I was just like, "Fuck yeah!"
It's like say less.
Oh yeah, I'm like,
less.
just let's do this.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of gigs and a couple of recordings, and during COVID, he was like, "Man, is there anybody making beats?" And I was like, "Well, we said we were going to do a track together. Do you want me to sort of put the word out?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool." Well, first person I was going to ask was Kenny, because I was like, yeah, 2 MCs just did this other thing. I really enjoyed working with him. So yeah, we pieced all that up together. And that was the first Fun Police track. Yeah. And then, yeah, we sort of did the second track in there in that recording. And then my daughter was like, "Dad, you can't release this without a video. It's hilarious." And I was like, yeah, great idea. So
I love that your daughter's giving you the
she's
advice. How old's your daughter?
Well, she's 10 and she's on the next track. She's on the next release.
She's
She's
cool.
She's an amazing singer.
I saw you gave her a was it a gold mic or something that you?
I engraved the microphone in down the side for her.
Yeah.
Freedom, I called it. She's an awesome MC and singer, and really coming into her own voice and strength and creativity. So
from such a young age too. Like,
oh man, she was at the Opera House 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it's like it took me 10 years to get to the Opera House, and I only made it to the forecourt in the first part with Jamiroquai. I was like, God, So anyway, yeah, she's killing it. So
she's going to be outshining you in a few years time,
without doubt. Like if she chooses to,
if she wants, that's it. You got to let them do what they want.
No, wow, that's right.
I'll support
it's not
for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, so she jumped up on stage at the last Elements and said a couple of things in the mic, and so it was good. But anyway, the
Fun Police, get back to it.
Yeah, so we're doing this. We did a couple of gigs, and then kind of put our heads together with, well, let's actually turn this into something that's a little bit more than like just the odd random tune.
Yeah.
So that's where we came up with the Fun Police name
and stuff,
logo, and did all the socials. So we're kind of set up, geared to go, just waiting for COVID to pull its head in, and then trying to source gigs now. So we're at the release, and the track, the first EP that we released, it was really good. I got B-Boy C's to do the artwork. He's like, one of the owners of Hype magazines, the world's Southern Hemisphere's biggest graffiti mag. Yep. So we got some really nice, respectable props on the people that are on the record.
Yep.
Some great remixes. And the track went #1 in breakbeat and hip hop on Juno.
Yeah, nice.
So we released it. We're only watching the breakbeat chart because I was like, oh, it's listed as breakbeat. And I was like, oh. And I went, oh, we're in the top 20. We're like, fuck yeah, we're in the top 20.
Yeah, it's always cool.
And then it was like, oh, no, we're in the top 10. I was like, woo, this is really good. And then Ben goes, oh, have you checked hip hop? And I was like, nah.
We won't be in hip hop.
Checked in hip hop. Was like, #1 release, #1 single, #2 single. I was like, guys, we've topped the charts in hip hop as well. I was like, holy fuck. So,
So you're like, oh, we're going to start taking this seriously. Then we're onto something here. Like,
we're on. Well, I knew, I don't have to. There's a lot of things that go behind whether something that's done well is going to be successful.
Exactly.
And I was like,
having the Hype magazine involved
Yeah, all of those sort of
you
things.
know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you get any like?
He
did they
posted
support?
up on his Instagram, and
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Which
all
probably
those
has a
sort of
good following and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and there's those guys
and
all
that's
over
why
the
that
world.
collaboration stuff is so great.
Yeah.
You know, when you can pull in people from different areas who have different talents and different audiences, and then you can really build a fan base from that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the fact that, you know, James and his brother Bill have been breakdancing in my shows for fucking 20 years. And
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to do it inorganically. It was just like,
Yeah,
I want those guys to do the art because they're the best that do it. And I want these guys to do the
But just when
production.
it all comes together and works.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's satisfying when it comes together with people that you know and you enjoy and
with your
you
homies.
respect. And with
You
your
know,
homies.
with your mates.
Yeah,
like,
pretty
you know,
much.
Like you can
and
all
you just like,
fucking make it work together.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now it's kind of just getting the ball rolling again and getting the next releases up and out and all that type of stuff. And yeah, the next release I got my daughter in the studio when she was up here in December. And then I wrote a verse, and now Luke's going to write a verse, and Ben's remade the backing track because I used a Jay Dilla track, and then the other single, Luke's put a lot of his effort in writing top lines because he really wanted to give that a crack, and so that's coming together as well. So you know, like I think big things to come, but it's not that thing of like so much pressure. Like I want to make it sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not like back in the day, man, when I was doing.
You're trying to make it.
Oh man.
Whereas now it's like you're not necessarily trying to make it. I
just want to do it right. So here's the thing.
And you love it.
I love it. I want to do it exactly right.
Yeah.
And of course, to the best of our ability. But I want to be able to release it when I want, how I want, with the people I want on it. And I want to perform it at the parties that I want to perform at when I want to.
Yeah.
That's it.
You want to do it all on your terms, basically.
Yeah, it's just like I just want to do it when I want to do it in the way that I like to do it. And that's it. That's pretty much it.
It's like that cliche saying everyone says now, like, you do you.
Yeah, well, it's that.
You do you.
But it's
you
also,
do you know what I mean? But it's just like you're going to do it how you're going to do it. And it's
that's right. And it's not
and
like.
you'll enjoy the process. It's not necessarily like the success is great and all that stuff. But is that how you feel? It's like it's about the process and doing it in the way you want to do it.
It's enjoying the process because I spent so long, especially in my 30s, I spent a lot of my energy pushing myself so hard that I didn't enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Like I loved what I was doing. I love the music. That's not hard. Like that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is I pushed myself so hard to be successful that I was always discontent, irritable. Yeah. But then I was also, and this is a good segue into this stuff, I was also suffering from the traits of what I would later find out would be addiction.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yes.
I just thought it was normal. And so in hindsight, I did really enjoy and love what I was doing, but that was being robbed from me by the pursuit of alcohol primarily. Yeah. So this one.
So let's talk about if you guys haven't noticed,
kombucha.
Cam's been drinking kombucha all day, which technically is slightly alcoholic, isn't it?
No,
it's like 0.0001%.
No, look, the ones that I get aren't. And, yeah, like I mean, if you get the dodgy brands, which I don't buy, the ones that are really super homemade, that can make you pissed. But no, I haven't had a drink in nearly 7 years.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because, when I knew you weren't drinking, before I asked you to come onto the show, which is still fine. It's still a beer with. Yeah, I'm still having a beer with you, so it's still the name still works.
So that's right. Yeah.
And I definitely cleared it with Cam to say, do you mind if I drink? On the podcast,
and
because I don't want to be disrespectful. And
I ain't that guy.
But some people, you know what I mean. Some people
are young and
be around.
No, that's right. They're early in recovery.
Yeah,
and so early in recovery, that's that can be difficult for some people.
So how did you realize this recognize this? How did it happen?
So
that,
literally, so it's a progressive disease. Firstly, I'll say that, and it's a slow burner for a lot of people. And it was for me because I always had a very high emphasis on fitness and of course had my yoga world, and it was also very much achievement, success driven. So at the point where I gave up, you wouldn't know that I was an alcoholic by looking at me. Like I had the 12-pack and big muscles.
But like
and
physically you weren't, because you would balance it out with the.
Oh, that's what I always used to do. Oh, it's all balance, man. It's all about balance. It's like, it is for some people.
Yeah.
But what so I had a career in hospitality, and so I'd worked lots of fine dining, justified my drinking because it was very expensive and it was very good. I learned a lot about it. So started walking down the sommelier path, had done a lot of wine guide duties, worked in 3-hatted restaurants, and, I have a very solid career in hospitality. Part of that is how much can you drink, party, et cetera, carry on. So anyway,
which then is also part of the music industry and the dance music and the rave and
the raving. Interestingly enough, I chose that because there was no alcohol.
Yeah, because it wasn't back then.
Yeah, so for me, and you go to the Doofs and you go to Elements and stuff, people BYO, but there's nothing on sale. So for me, it was about the music and the dancing. This is why I went there essentially, and that's remained for me. Yeah, and if not more passionate.
You've
now.
Always had that love for it from before you got into.
But I was concerned when I gave up. When I gave up, a lot of people give up and then they just lose it. And I'm like, no. If anything, it's deepened my conviction. But also deepened my appreciation and gratitude for it. So, I'm lucky. But anyway, it kind of. So that addiction just kind of built, right, and then with a lot of touring, I managed to perform a lot sober. Because I made that dedication. When I started getting paid good money, I was like, "Oh, look, this is just what I got to do," And I
when
ran
you drink,
that.
like, sorry to interrupt, but like as an MC, your vocal cords
changes.
So like we've had some artists in here and they were like a bit nervous and stuff, and then they're like, maybe I'll just go get I'll get a little thing of like just have a little drink and stuff to loosen up a bit and be a bit more like confident and stuff like that. But what they don't realize is your vocal cords relax and your range drops. You can't hit as higher notes because your vocal cords relax.
I mean, I did learn the techniques of being able to in any conditions deliver.
That's it. If you practice it,
and you practice it, and then you create sub personas within that world.
You understand what you've got to do and how you've got to be.
What you got to do.
Do it differently
to manage it. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time managing it, and I got good at managing it, and then I'd do it sober, not sober. Back in the late 90s, mid 90s, like it was surprising that I lived, but I lived, and then of course I had that recovery time, and then came back into it, and always, my battle with it was I thought that it was a problem with willpower, and so it was explained to me later on. They said, "Oh, look, did you ever have a problem finding a drink?" And I was like, pretty much in the middle of a desert with no money or cell reception, I could provide booze at any hour of the day. And they were like, "See?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just have this special skill." Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like I could go and perform at the Great Northern Hotel and I'd know that there'd be half a carton for the band. And I'd be like,
shout out to the Great Northern up in Townsville.
I'll be back in a minute. And I'd go and MC at La La Land and come back with a bag of pizzas and a bag of wine and booze. And they'd be like, "How'd you do it?" I'm like, "I just MC'd for free because it's going to bring you guys more party, So like it wasn't willpower. So I just didn't understand.
There?
It was always there, and what I didn't realize is that I have the disease that other people don't have. So when I drink alcohol, it turns into acetone. Acetone is nail polish remover, and it doesn't break down like carbohydrate like it will in someone else's body. So when they drink it turns into carbohydrate and goes straight through the system. When I drink it turns to acetone, creates craving, which creates an instability in the mind and the body. So for me, I managed that. And what I said, I was a functioning alcoholic, functioning drinker. didn't live underneath a bus stop, didn't lose teeth from it.
So is this like drinking every day kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, working in inner city restaurants in Sydney and, working in fine dining restaurants. Yes, most certainly.
Yeah.
And
I think that's important for people to understand that it's like, when it gets to that everyday kind of a thing.
It's
okay.
It
doesn't have to be like
no,
that.
That's right. So
look,
the thing that I'll say that can differentiate is when you start drinking, can you stop?
Yeah.
And when you have to stop, can you stop?
Yeah.
So
see, I'm big on that.
Two
like,
things,
I have to be very conscious of this because my podcast and my brand is around drinking beer, like a beer with. So
but you can
I'm
always,
very conscious of that.
That's just the name of it.
Yeah,
it can always change.
No, but I'm very conscious of it to not, get too caught up in that.
Yeah, that's right.
And while I do like to drink beer and stuff like that, there's times where people go, we're at the, just last Sunday, I had a drink there and someone goes, they do the old, oh, cheers, I'll meet you at the bottom, we'll scull it. And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my superpower is to be able to say no to peer pressure and all that, when people are like, and I'm like, no, I don't really feel like that. And then I always use the excuse of, because like in the music industry, the dance music industry now, I'm a little bit older than a lot of people. And I always just say, I've had more benders than you've had hot dinners. Yeah. So when you catch up to where I'm at, then you can try and peer pressure me. So I'm very conscious of that. I can't let it But the
thing about it is, and it's individual for everyone.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm like, if it's not a problem, it's not a problem. Yeah. Like who cares, right?
Yeah.
And I will sit with my friends and champion them on. I don't care.
Yeah.
When I'm bored, I can drive home. Happy days. These are good things.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need a designated driver.
That's right.
You don't have to pay for Ubers or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
That's right. So, but for me, it was more of a thing of like, I've done all the spiritual work, I've done the self-development, I've seen the gurus, I've done all the diet. Like, I mean, why is it not working? Why is it like I'd have like 6 months break, completely sober, and then go back on, then it'll be back at the same place. Yeah. And there was this sense of unmanageability that was coming into my life. So I woke up one night, partner had said that she wanted me to move out.
Yeah.
Partner in my record label took off with 50 grand. Still don't know where he is in the world. Like totally.
Shout out if you see this.
Chad, like, wow.
Chad, wow.
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 And then
I hope you're doing well though, Chad.
And then my job that was supposed to be my tree change out of the industry, they stopped, and that all happened in 1 week. And then so that was the beginning for me. I was like, there's this sense of unmanageability going on in my life.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's an impending doom. And I was like, I can't shake it. And there were things that, like, I'd gone through some pretty heavy trauma, right? So when I came back to Brisbane, I went, like, I'm just going to go and do a rehab. I didn't have a problem.
Did the whole
that's right.
the proper full
that's right.
Yeah.
So because I wanted to know the science of what it was that I was facing, right? So I was sober and I had no problem staying sober.
Yeah.
So this is what people don't understand. They think it's like, oh, if I'm around and I see a drink, I'm going to run over and drink it. It's like, no, that's not my disease.
Yeah.
My disease is if I start, I don't want to stop. Yeah. And when I want to stop, I find it hard. Yeah. So for me, it's that thing of going, I want this impending doom feeling or this grey cloud to go away. And so when I put the plug in the jug, as they say, like a lot of my mental issues just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like that anxiety went.
Yeah.
I could see things a lot more clearly, as it were.
Yeah.
I did I did the rehab thing, and that was awesome because I met people in there that didn't know why they were there.
Yes.
And they were like, well, I don't know why I'm here, mate. Oh, like my wife put me here. I don't know what. And I'm like, dude, it's a drug and alcohol rehab. I'm pretty sure we're here for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? You know? And they're like, oh, bullshit, mate. I don't
have a problem.
Oh, I'm going to go and have a six pack. And I'm like, that's understandable if you're an addict, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was good to be there because I was like, wow, this is what denial looks like. And it was right in my face.
To be able to
and there was
recognize
tons of people in there on OxyContin.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had back painkillers, right? And
Terrible.
yeah, but they didn't know. They woke up in rehab. How did I get here? I'm like, what? And they're like, no, like I've literally lost 6 months of my life.
Yeah, I don't know what's been happening.
Don't know what's happened.
Yeah.
Like I started taking these from my back and I've lost 6 months. So that's a plague at the moment. But anyway, so I did that. I found out about the science of it and went, great. There's this thing called neural adaptation, which explained to me the idea of why people like Robin Williams, has got like 15 years sober, picks up a drink, goes straight back to a bottle of scotch and suicides, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is neural adaptation. There's a pathway carved in the brain that happens with alcohol and cocaine.
Yep.
And it doesn't
probably
go away.
A heap of other drugs as well. No, only those two?
Only those two.
Okay.
So
what about things like meth and like
they talked about the whole
stuff?
thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like you will wean on and wean off some stuff, but alcohol and cocaine, this pathway that's burnt through your neural pathways, is like straight back to the beginning, right?
So you go straight back to where you were.
To where you were, or worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need worse, because like kind of they call it the putting on the brake and everything in the back of the car slides into you. And I was like, right, like things are a bit of a mess right now. I really need to sort this out.
Yeah.
So then I got into recovery. When after that, did my 12 steps, and like had my life completely changed.
For the better, obviously.
Yeah. Like total transformation.
Yep.
So I can't speak more highly of that particular process of self-awareness. And you know what? The people that aren't alcoholics, who have unmanageability in their life, I look at them and I'm just like, I feel sorry you're not an alcoholic, because I don't know how I got lucky to get the golden ticket, because I tell you what, my life has changed significantly for the better. It's what they call, a lot of people go, it's a Christian fellowship or it's a religious thing, and it's like, that was me too. But because the word God appears, but then when I got in there and I heard all these old timers going, I don't believe in any of that shit, but I believe in you group of drunks, you keep me sober.
Yeah.
And I was like, right. And then I realized I had a problem with language.
Yeah.
I just hadn't actually explored my own relationship with what words could mean.
Yeah.
And because I did that, I was lucky enough to get it and recover. And not only that, then the God job, I call it, or the universal synchronicity, if I'm going to use wanky spiritual words, was that basically my yoga teacher just basically said to me as we were in the gym one day, he was like, we're teaching teachers, do you want to learn? And I went, I've always wanted to be a yoga teacher. And at that stage, my doctor said, you're not going back to hospitality. And I was like, right, so I'm unemployed and I got nothing. Fuck, what do I do? What do I do? So I went and studied. I did a Cert 4 training and assessment. When you're in recovery, you suddenly got all this energy. So I just like got all these certificates and like studied heaps and got super fit. And I was like, I'm really good. Like, fuck, I've got all this time. It's like, because you're not drinking or partying.
Because you're not drinking.
So you're good, you know? So anyway, and then my job placement, they just had money for like to put towards. So my yoga teacher training, which should have been like $6,000, was like next to nothing.
Yeah.
And I came out of the yoga teacher training and walked straight into 20 classes a week. It was like the universe was like, cool, now you've got it. Yeah. Now you get what we've been trying to tell you all the time.
Yeah.
Now you have that. You actually have something that you can hand back to other people that can help them when they're lost and their life is fucked and they don't know what to do. And that's where, Russell Brand's got this great book called Recovery on it. I don't know if you've heard the book.
I've listened to a lot of Russell Brand, like on podcasts. I haven't seen the book, but I've seen him on Rogan.
It's
Rogan
great.
And heaps of podcasts, and
he just simplifies it because there's a lot of old language.
Out there and he goes, he's a wacky guy, and like he gets very spiritual and into all that kind of stuff about recovery
because it saved his life. Because
literally, I love listening to him because he's so eccentric, but he's also got
humility,
knowledge and wisdom from his experiences and stuff like that. So and
enough self-observation that it's not coming from ego. It's like he's acutely aware of his dysfunction. And that's what recovery will do for you. It's like, here you are as you are. And this is what, one of the biggest gifts of besides sobriety, which is easy. Sobriety's not a problem. So when I came back to Brisbane, I was like, sobriety's not a problem for me. What is a problem is staying very content and happy and well. So how do I do that? and sobriety. So that was for me. That's where I got into it, and I'd like, literally, I have no cravings. I don't care if my friends part. Like there's no attachment. It's neither good or bad anymore for me.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
It's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. But the wisdom that I've gained through and you've got to
train yourself
and you got to work through that. You got to go through the process and who fucking knows what's on the other side. But that's the exciting part. Is that some stuff's going to be removed that you've been struggling with your whole life.
Yeah.
For me, it was people pleasing.
Yeah.
People pleasing got removed out because it was just like, nah, like that got exacerbated with hospitality, and it got replaced with, if there's respect, I can have this interaction.
Yeah.
If my self-respect is being infringed by our relationship, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's distanced me from a lot of people in the music industry.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, you loved it when you could pick on me and piss on me and treat me like shit. And now that I don't take that, you don't know how to interact.
Yeah.
Because I won't have it. And it's not about me I don't even need to set my boundaries.
Yeah.
It's just energetically, we just don't meet.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't allow that in my life.
Then you're like, well, I'm not going to
allow it in my life.
I'm not going to spend time
invested in chasing
you or talking to you or whatever. If it's not going to serve my purpose.
Well, no, it's not. It's not selfish like that. It's if it doesn't have a mutual respect as its basis.
What I mean by serve my purpose is like for my life that I'm trying to do and trying to live.
For the life that I will live. That I will live.
Yeah,
that I am living.
That I am living. That I don't want to. That's not something I want part of my life.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
What I mean, like it's not an ego thing of like
no,
I'm
no,
not
no.
a part of you, but
no,
it's
but
like,
it used to be, and I used to have that struggle. Like I used to get like as I was saying before, like I had a lot of my life where there was this overwhelming sense of foreboding or discontent that I just couldn't quite shake.
Yeah.
And I would have to manage the shit out of it. Meditate for hours, heaps of yoga, walks in the park, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Fuck, get my shit together. Come back from work, like from tour, feeling like I've been spat out a shotgun. But it's like, I don't get that anymore. It's just a middle way that's mostly content.
Can I tell you what I think that what I've found for myself is the thing that like that does it is like success to me is no longer the big things, the things that happen, like that what people think of success. Success to me is progression, which is the practice of actually, enjoying the
growing.
Process.
Yeah, that's right.
The process is what I enjoy. Like I enjoy it that I'm, I've gone on this journey of podcasting, and I enjoy it that I've got a long way to go and to get better and to grow it and to do more things. Like I actually enjoy that process more than the, people going, oh, I love your podcast like that. It's like, oh, that's like, I really do appreciate that you guys love it.
But I'm not doing it for that reason.
But that's not the you telling me that
driver.
isn't the reason I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I love
right.
actually this, what we're doing, you and me sitting here right now.
Yeah.
I love this more than people saying they love the podcast or people listening or watching. Like this is, this is so fun to do. And, like I love that process. And I think that's a big wake up call for people. And that's what you've said.
Well, that's the yoga
recently.
wisdom as well that I heard it's progress, not perfection.
Yes.
And it's like, if I've, and even if it's like, even if I'm just facing north and I'm not moving, then that's okay some days.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to beat myself up because there's going to be days like that.
Yeah.
And there's going to be days
Ups
where
and
I plug in my computer and I ring Apple Care and fucking I get kicked off the phone 500 times. The computer doesn't work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like there's just days like that.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that now. Whereas before I'd get to the end of the day and be like, right, I'm going to get smashed. It's like, I deserve a reward.
Yeah.
And it's like my reward now is like, I get to go to bed sober with my wife and watch a movie and have good connection and wake up the next day and teach and feel useful. And that's actually, there was something that popped into my mind. It's a good time to mention it.
Yeah.
You spoke of purpose as well. And I think there's this real elusive magic surrounding purpose. And there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl,
Oh, awesome.
which is a winner.
Is there an audiobook of it?
Yes, there is.
I'm big on audiobooks.
And it's on YouTube,
Yeah, I'm big on audiobooks.
and
So
it's
I've
cool.
got Audible and all that, so I'll be definitely I'll get that name off you and I'll look that up and
Yeah,
listen to that.
absolutely.
I'll be listening to that at work on Monday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did. It was part of the recommended reading on a workshop I did called Being of Purpose, which was a power living yoga retreat.
Yeah.
And I've assimilated a bunch of the stuff there, and that's part of my part of the training that I do when I mentor people as well. Because it's a really simple fucking process.
Yeah.
And like people go, what am I here for? It's like, what do you choose to be here for?
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, that's the big clincher is that there's inner purpose, there's outer purpose, and there's also there's your innate gifts.
Yeah.
And so they're
what
all
you're actually good at, like just
and
your
like,
talents.
But there's a skill, there's a jai skill. I would like I'm like my primary gift is connection. Doesn't matter if I'm in yoga, music, hospitality, in the middle of the desert. Like my innate skill that I do as being Cameron in the world is I connect people with each other and with themselves.
Yeah.
That's just something that I naturally do without trying to do it.
Yeah.
And so you've got those skills as well.
Exactly. I was going to say that sounds exactly like how I feel. Like
Yeah.
I'm I like to connect with people and talk to people, and that's why I like to go out and be a part of the music scene and meet new people. Like, a lot of people say, they need friends to go out with, to go out clubbing or whatever.
You
Or to go to the pub.
Go meet friends.
I go out by I go out by myself almost always.
Yeah.
And it's because I know a lot of people in the scene, so I've got people I can go and hang with. But
And you're a guy. That's the other thing.
that's another thing.
Like,
I understand it's different for girls as well. Like I do get that.
Yeah.
It's a different.
But it is a
world.
wonderful thing to be able to do, and I've done it most of my life as well.
Yeah,
and
because I can just go and meet some people and go, hey guys, and just talk to them and because I'm actually interested in meeting them and learning about them. It's not like a trying to meet people to grow my fan base or influence. It's actually because I actually like meeting
hanging
new
out with people.
and,
That's right.
and finding out what they're about. And that's why this podcast thing has been so good to start doing, is because I get to do that every week with other people like yourself or artists who are motivated, passionate, people who actually, are doing things. They always say surround yourself with motivated, passionate people.
Yeah, that's right. That's
and
right.
this lets me do it every week.
Yeah, it's great, man.
It's amazing.
It's a win-win. And it was one of those things, like for me, one of the gifts of recovery was this yoga teaching thing to put me in an environment where I could be useful to other people beyond, like, the music industry is just so important to me as a vehicle to express, true, deep, honest parts of myself.
Yep.
In joy and celebration of this wonderful fucking amazing
music connects everyone,
that's right.
It's a universal thing. Like there are people who don't like music, but it's very rare that you'll ever find anyone who says, oh, I don't actually like music. Like they'll have some kind of music they like.
Yeah. But it's really important for me. But what I found was as a practicing addict, the isolation that I would feel alone in hotel rooms, alone on planes.
Yeah. That's that tour life.
It's a tour life, man.
The touring life.
And for me, I'll be okay to do it now, but because it's taken a process, and it's also that thing of being useful for other people and connecting with other people. It's puts me in my happy space. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And also, like, we're not supposed to life it alone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that sort of nuclear family illusion is one of the main reasons we have so much mental health issues. It's just like the disintegration of society. And I wrote about it in one of the songs, Silicon Soul, that Kid Kenobi and I released. Went way under the radar. Super awesome track. Never got enough love.
Go check it out, guys.
Go check it out. It's fucking great.
On the video on the YouTube, we'll put the link here.
That's it.
When it's on YouTube. I'm sure there's a link somewhere on YouTube.
It's on
there's
YouTube.
Like a YouTube and stuff. Yeah, we'll put it here.
That's right. But the idea that it's just this fractured disconnection that's happened in our society, and now what we're looking at is the symptoms: alcoholism, mental health, anxiety, depression, anger, violence, like the
division
this polarizing
polarizing
effect that's happening out there. It's it's of our own doing, and the reality is I know it's not morbid, it's factual. COVID has connected this whole fucking planet. Look, you're all connected. You are one humanity, like it or not.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're separate. We're different. We're going to a different country. Yeah, and like as a friend of mine in Berlin said, yeah, well, you're lucky in Australia because COVID just walked across the border here. You know what I mean? It's like, we're all connected. And I think that's
But we are very lucky as well because it's like
we're super lucky.
Yeah. And I've said, and that's like that. I feel like Clubhouse, to bring it back to that, is that that connection, like it almost feels like it's that next thing to bring that connection back. And speaking to people over in the States and the UK, I just went into a guy's room. It was just him. No one was in there. It was a UK, like a mobile event DJ, and just talking to him about what's going on over there in their scene and then telling him what's going on here, and then speaking to people in the States and stuff. And man, people do not understand how lucky we have it here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it is actually like when I see people whinging about not being able to dance at clubs, I actually just feel like they sound like little whinging teenagers.
Oh, that's one of the great things that Sam Cutler put up on. Like
they just sound like little whinging teenagers. You don't understand how bad other countries have it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Right.
Like they're like, they can't go and do anything. And you're whinging that you can't dance. You can go and see people and have genuine human connection, one-on-one. They can't do that. Like,
that's right.
like
that's right.
And, so
and it's like
I'm so grateful for what's happened here, and myself as well. I work for the government at a school, so I'm I recognize that I've been super lucky and blessed in this pandemic. So and that's
also,
why I'm trying to give back as much as I can, like, and try and help people. And like, I often, if I see people who are struggling, I try and help them, and then I check in with them and I hold them accountable. I'm like, you said you were going to do this. Have you done it? And they're like, I haven't. I'm like, so what are you going to do tomorrow? And
well, there's a great saying in AA. They say, you can carry the message, but you can't carry the alcoholic. And that's the other thing. It's
you
like
can
people
lead a
have
horse
got
to water,
can't make a drink. It's the same thing. It's like I spent a lot of years in the music industry trying to convince people of their talent or convince people of their abilities, or it's like you either want this and you're going to do the steps, or you find another way to do it. If you really can't do it, don't want to do it, pay someone. Like, do you know what I mean? But don't sort of whinge about what's not accessible to you if you're not going to do the hard work to get it.
But sometimes, like, I feel like sometimes it's like self-doubt is a big thing with people.
That's limiting belief systems.
Exactly. And
we all got them.
We need to do another podcast because I feel like we could just talk for hours about this kind of stuff because I'm huge into this as well. So I think you're going to have to come back on again.
Oh, it sounds great, dude.
And we'll do another one.
And I'll tell you all about the guy who invented all the limiting belief system transition stuff, who's my mentor, who's still alive, and he does all these workshops over. He's like 85, John Nutting.
Okay, cool.
And so he took what was basically a live workshop only transformation process, and he was the first guy to document it and put it into written form. And so I'm learned through him how to facilitate it. And so this is part of my, one of the offerings that I have there. But he's the guy. He's the guy. And he's worked with everyone. He's worked with all of the hot names in psychotherapy all over the world, the biggest names in self-transformation, self-help. He's the guy. And he's still alive. And he does these amazing workshops. And he's just lovely dude, super generous. But we got lots to talk about.
I've got to connect you with the MetaMinds guys. They've got a podcast too, guys, and it's like MetaMinds. It's like relentless self-development.
Great.
You would like their whole thing is about breaking down limiting beliefs. So you would you guys would just get on so well. So I'll link you with those guys, and
sounds good
because they're looking for some podcast guests and stuff. So you'll just. It'll be like a house on fire. You guys will get on really well because they're all about that. But thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, dude.
I've wanted to do this for a while, and I think we've got to do another one because there's so much stuff that we've got to cover.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Outside stuff. There's things we haven't probably even touched on.
Yeah, and I'd love to give you some links for the new Journeyman mix and
Yeah. We'll put up. So how do we find you and your social media? How do we find you on Facebook, Twitter, like Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're on? How do we find? Or is there a website we can go to that links it all?
There is. There is. So my mcshureshock.com.
Yeah.
It's got all your socials links on there.
Yeah.
And it's MCShure, like the microphone.
Yeah.
SHOCK on Instagram as well.
You did that on
Facebook.
purpose because it was like short.
The microphone. That's right. Because I bit a
MC.
microphone and shocked myself is how it happened.
That's for the next podcast.
Yeah,
We're
that's
going to talk
right.
about that.
And then yogicam.com.au.
Yeah.
Not Yogi Cams. You will end up on a nefarious, there will be naked ladies. Do not go to that site. Yogi Cam.
Or do if that's what you're into.
If you're into that.
If you're into that, go to that site too.
But I told one of my mentors who's like super, very restrained yogi guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, at 4:00 in the morning, this is not what I wanted to see. I was like, I'm sorry, I've broken your sattvic meditation. You needed to drop the S. So it's Yogi Cam on Yogi Cam Brown on Instagram and Yogi Cam on YouTube, Facebook, and yogicam.com.au. Website should be up on Monday. Let's hope.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I've got all the links in the description below and all that kind of stuff. But thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. First guest of 2021. So
I'm very honored.
Yeah,
thanks for having me,
first back, and can't
Really
wait to do
appreciate it.
more. And you'll have to come in the studio and work on some stuff, man.
Yeah, man, bring it on.
We've talked about it for a while. It's always the way, isn't it? You talk
That's
about
all right.
it.
You've been building this amazing space, so
let's
get into it.
Yeah, definitely keen. So thanks for coming on, man. And
Cool, man.
I appreciate it.
Honor.
Make sure you go check out Shureshock. He's legend in the Brizzy scene and the breakbeat scene, and and all that. So make sure you go check out his stuff. Make sure you support, and if you want to connect and maybe do some of the yoga stuff and get into that, definitely you should. So
Always send a message.
send it. All right. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, dude. That was awesome.